Hey everyone, it's John Tran here with Bounding into Comics, and I am joined by my co-hosts Drew Taylor, Philip Pratt, Donald Edmonds, and our special guest, Script Doctor. Hope you guys are all having a great evening tonight. I know we missed last week. We took off for Thanksgiving. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, but it is good to be back, and there is a ton of stuff to talk about tonight. We're going to start off with some trailer reactions. We had two pretty big trailers drop this week. I think yesterday we had the Black Widow trailer, and then this morning, we got the new No Time to Die James Bond trailer. So how's it going, Mark? Thank you for stopping by and joining us. I know you mentioned earlier you're monitoring Gary's Nerdrotic Nooner, which has definitely gone past noon, even for those West Coast people. He must be over in jumping time zones over there. But yeah, so let's get to this Black Widow trailer. What did you guys think about it? Did you like it? Were there things that kind of made you leery? Were there things that got you excited? What did you think? We'll go around the horn here, and we'll start with Script Doctor.
It felt like this should have been in lieu of Age of Ultron. Also, if they've alluded to, I guess, Rachel Weisz and all these characters are like her family. I don't know if it's like a fake structured family done by the state or if it's an actual genetic thing. Because if it is, it would make, I guess, what's his name from Stranger Things, like that type of character, like knowing that his daughter went through all the stuff that she went through to be like the most perfect agent, to be kind of controversial, especially if he thinks family is so important. Because they alluded that Scarlett Johansson was basically sterilized in Age of Ultron. And if he cares about family and then finding that out about his daughter, would he not be like really PO'd about that? There's some questions I'm just curious about, but I thought that was kind of interesting with the family aspect that they brought into that trailer. No semblance of a plot, so I am curious to see if the next one will give us a hint of that. And I'm hoping that bike helmet isn't the final Taskmaster look for the guy, given what they did with the costume for the dad.
Yeah, I wasn't. Was that supposed to be Taskmaster, the guy on that truck that we saw for a little bit?
Definitely.
Okay, I wasn't sure because of the costume.
Well, actually, I'm not sure if I can go. I know we're going around the horn, but
yeah, you can go next.
The Taskmaster mask, the one that I guess is more popular now with the full skull. That's kind of not his most prevalent look. Since I would say like the mid 2000s to mid teens, he's had this kind of more of a subtle skull look. I think the artist Uden, he did a real great job with him actually. During the Agent X and the Deadpool series of that era when forgot what's her name, the loudmouth writer for X for Marvel, she moved over to DC.
Gail Simone.
Gail Simone, there you go.
Gail Simone.
She was writing both characters for a while, and he was part of that run. And I should say that was probably one of my favorite Deadpool runs. And he looked more. The way we saw Taskmaster in the trailer is similar to what we saw during her run of Taskmaster, using him, and a little bit before, a little bit after. It wasn't until I would say maybe 2013 that we got that big skull, or maybe even 14, where you got that big skull look. So that's actually newer than what we're used to seeing.
I guess I was looking for like the white cape.
Yeah, that's newer. I mean, kind of both. The old school Taskmaster was a little bit more flamboyant, but I guess the more modernized version that I'm used to seeing looks more like the guy in the trailer that I'm used to seeing than anything else. So I wasn't that thrown aback. He still looked recognizable to me because I'm used to seeing him more, less pronounced.
I guess I'm also used to seeing him with a sword and a shield.
Yeah.
Not a bow and arrow.
He uses bow and arrow. He uses anything. I'm not sure if you know how Taskmaster works or anyone does. He has a
He's a
photographic
mimic, right?
muscle.
It's like a copycat, right?
Yeah,
He
he can
calls it-
copy anybody's like
Yeah.
skill set pretty much.
He's photo. I think he called it photographic muscle memory, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
There's a scene that I have in the comic book that he drops into this limo and he says, "I watched a Chow Yun Fat marathon last night." He beats up everybody in the limo using gung fu. It's pretty hilarious. So
That sounds pretty good. What else did you think about it, though, Phil? Besides,
other than the Taskmaster, I actually liked it because I'm a big fan of Winter Soldier and that kind of visceral, close range fighting. It's very much like Born Identity. I love that type of fighting, and that's what I got from a lot of the action in that, especially when she was fighting her sister, quote unquote. Other than that, I was kind of surprised because I remember the director saying she was trying to go away from using guns, but I saw a lot of guns in this trailer, so I'm a little confused about that. What was it? Just smoke and mirrors? She's just throwing up. She's just virtue signaling, trying to get some hype going. But from what I can tell from the pacing of it, it looks great. Again, like Script Doctor said, I don't know what it's about, but it looks fun. But maybe they showed us all the best parts, and we don't know what's actually going to happen. That's always possible.
all right. What about you, Drew?
I mean, I thought it looked good. I liked the trailer and everything, but it's just like, man, for me, I'm nitpicky about timing, and it's like the movie doesn't fit right now. It just doesn't fit for me, and I can't get out of my head what I already saw. Right, exactly.
Spoilers.
And it's like, God, what could have been? All they had to do was put this movie out around Civil War time.
5 years ago, it would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been absolutely a smash. Because so many people wanted a Black Widow movie for like the longest. But they screwed around, they hemmed and hawed and put out all these other lackluster movies, and Black Widow got lost in the shuffle. And it's squarely their fault for doing it.
It was on Marvel's radar.
Yeah, it was on their radar, dude, but they didn't capitalize.
I remember one of the offices I worked at in LA, they Marvel booked a floor off of them, and when I'd walk through that floor to get to my office, they would be playing all the fan-made trailers for a Black Widow trailer that came out right after after Winter Soldier came out, and they're like, man, we got to do a Black Widow film, and that's what you'd overhear, but I don't know why they never pulled the trigger.
Yeah, and that's like I said, in doing so, in my opinion, they missed a window because again, it's hard to really get fully invested, post Endgame. It's very hard. And I'm not saying that the movie's going to be a flop by any means. I still think the movie's going to have a solid showing. It's going to do well, but not nearly as well as what it would have if it was, definitely well in the past.
Yeah, I think if they had done this closer to how they did when they did Winter Soldier, or even around that time, even Civil War, I would say in between those two films, that was the best time when you had the Russo brothers capturing that type of jittery kind of action they had gotten into. And to be honest, how much could this movie cost to make? I think they could have done this on the side and still gotten one of their tentpole movies out of the door. I think this could have been a great little build up to another movie, especially because it takes place, before Civil War or after. Does it take place before or after?
Well, I'd argue that
after.
I mean, I'd add, Phil. I mean, this is just as important a solo movie as any of the other ones.
Yep.
Black Widow can stand on her merits because she's got rich development. She had, she has a ton of backstory. This movie would have been great, but it would have been great then. It's like, now it's like somebody else pointed out in the chat. It's anticlimactic at this point.
Yeah.
In that
All right,
regard,
Don, what do you
Still be
think?
good.
So we're supposed to be going into whatever Marvel Phase 4 and looking forward to the future of Marvel films and what's going to be new. And this is the kickoff to Marvel Phase 4, going back after Civil War, where we get to see all the old actors, where it's rumored we're going to see Robert Downey Jr. And I'm just like, okay, my feeling on it is I'm not excited for it. I know you guys like the trailer, but there was a lot of callbacks too. The ballerina scene, Age of Ultron,
right? That's Ultron.
That last big action set piece where they're falling through the sky, Avengers Endgame or Infinity War, the Spider-Man scene where he's grabbing everybody through all the rubble. The only thing I really look forward to is David Arbor's performance, because he's just, I liked his performance in Hellboy. He's just that kind of guy.
He reminded me of Mr. Incredible.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Movie.
I
Like
can see
he's
that.
like a retired superhero, and he's been in like hiding or whatever, and he's got to put his suit back on, and it still fits. That was very The Incredibles to me.
But I wonder, are they gonna like really dad this guy, because the character he's playing, he looks kind of he's playing him kind of humorous, but he's no joke. He's a murderer. I mean, like
the
cold-blooded murderer.
tattoos. Someone pointed out the tattoos on him. He shows that he's done some serious prison time. At least, at least 2 stints in prison.
Yeah, but that character, I mean, he's not a comedic character. He's the opposite of Captain America, basically. As Captain America is virtuous, he is along those same lines of strength and speed, but from a Soviet Cold War kind of setting, he's not to be trifled with. He will murder an entire room of people and then go get coffee.
Yeah.
I didn't get that vibe at all from him.
No, that's the
in the
problem.
trailer. That was the complete opposite. Like I said, he reminded me of Mr. Incredible. And I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with Red Guardian. That's his name, right? Red Guardian.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest issue that this movie is going to face is that you're introducing all of these new characters. You're getting Red Guardian. You're getting Florence Pugh's Yelena. Where were they during Infinity War and Endgame?
Where was their portal?
Well,
Yeah,
they're not heroes. These
right,
characters
did they get snapped though?
These characters aren't heroes, though. That's the thing. They're
Yelena becomes Black Widow.
She's just, she has a
Ravagers.
Yeah, but the Ravagers. I've already spoke about this on YouTube a couple, and people tried to justify why the Ravagers were there, where Valkyrie got her horse from, and where War Machine got his new suit from while he's drowning. There's 3 things, and people try to explain it to me. Like, no, it's nonsense. Just accept that the movie was imperfect. It was. Let it go. But all the characters that are from Black Widow's past, none of them are actually good people. So I'm wondering how
Barton.
Barton, but he's the reason. But that's exactly the point.
Well, he's not really a good person anymore either, is he?
Yeah, that whole
Maybe that's why she was crying.
Ronan.
Yeah, he murdered a couple dozen people. I mean, the world.
They were drug dealers and criminals. It's okay, right?
So. But yeah, everyone from her past is bad. And that's why Clint was a big deal, because he pulled her from that and he gave her another chance. She came from a bad background. These people around her, they're all trained assassins and agents of the state, and not a good state, quote unquote good state. But I was wondering how they're going to play this. Are they going to play it saying that everyone is seeing how they're playing Red Guardian, I'm already a little curious about where their angle is going with this. So
that's a good question, but given the fact that like the age of Red Guardian and the age of Scarlett Johansson's character, it seems like he would have been created during the decline of the Soviet power, because Russia became rather normal during the 90s, and that would have been the former years of Black Widow and her sister and everything, and that might have been that might be just them reinterpreting Red Guardian as Red Guardian in that time frame. Like, he may be a product of the Cold War, but he was more active during, the normal parts of Russia before Putin became prime minister and then eventually president, and then changed it all around. So we don't know yet. Like, that might be their update and justification for it. Because prior, if he was like a,
we're assuming the Soviet Union exists in the MCU, right?
I think it did.
up until I guess 89.
I mean, I haven't seen anything where it exists yet. Have you guys?
What's the name of that country that they destroyed? Was it Sokovia?
Sokovia, yeah.
That was part. I mean, I'm sure they mentioned something there, didn't they?
That was on the Russian border, I think, or something like that. But I think what they have is, I think there might have been established it, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to parallel real world history to a point, because wasn't the Winter Soldier part of an agent of like back and forth between the Iron Curtain?
I guess that's right. He was a
and Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
Yeah,
Whiplash from Iron Man 2.
They pulled him out of
And then and then you had the fall of the Soviet Empire, and Russia became Russia again and became an ally, and then everything in the early 2000s changed it all back. So who knows? Like, that might be what Red Guardian was for that time in the 90s when ScarJo was a kid. And that might be what they're going with on this one. That's why they don't see them more recently, is because the Soviet Union came back and they had to hide or something like that. I don't know. Lots of speculation.
Possibly they're going to go off the name Red Guardian and maybe make him the guardian of the Red Room and all the test subjects, and maybe that's why he considers them children, because he looked at. I'm just going down a rabbit hole because of the name and why he's fat. So.
But no, that's also that's a believable rabbit hole too. Like there's a logic to that. I like that. I hope so. Maybe
that's probably why they're so family like. It's like he raised them in a way.
Yeah, because
raised and trained. Yeah.
It seemed like Rachel Weisz's character was like a handler, like you would see in a spy movie that the two, like Yelena and Black Widow, like used to report to.
She's also a Black Widow too, right?
I think so. Melina, right?
Yeah.
But wasn't she the Iron Maiden character? Is that what she was supposed to be?
She's playing some character named Melina.
Melina's she's the Iron something.
She's from Mortal Kombat.
Not that one.
Yeah, that's what
But yes, I think she's the character in the comic books that kept failing to become
the Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
Melina Vostokov.
She hates Black Widow out of jealousy, I think, something like that in the comic books. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, she had to live in the shadow of the legendary Black Widow.
Yeah,
she was sent to assassinate her, just like Yelena was in the comics. I mean, I thought the trailer was pretty generic. I liked. I mean, or when I say generic, it's like what I kind of expect from an MCU film, MCU trailer. High action. It had the comedy bits with Red Guardian. And I mean, I thought you pointed out the drop from the airplane or whatever. She's like moving through the air, skydiving or whatever. I thought that was pretty cool. I like that. I saw some people compare that to Fast and Furious because that's kind of their thing now.
Physics question though.
That reminded me of
moving through the air. Yeah.
Physics question though.
Yeah.
If they're falling through the sky and dudes are shooting at you, don't the bullets eventually reach terminal velocity as well and reach the same speed? So it's kind of pointless shooting at somebody falling through the sky?
Probably.
At a certain range, I think that would be the case, yeah. I think if you're more than, say, 40 or 50 feet away, eventually, yeah, you're just going to be able to see the bullet in front of you, and it's not going to be moving from your perspective.
Yeah. Anyway.
But that scene reminded me also of Spider-Man Far From Home when he's going through all those like drones and stuff like that too. Like we got two Spider-Man references across 3 films right now, like in that one shot.
Yeah, that's funny. Spider-Man, Black Widow, both spiders. So I get it.
Gotta wait for Ant-Man.
She has no webs though.
No webs.
Not yet. Who knows? She could have some kind of like web gadget that she deploys. But overall, I thought it was a decent first trailer. I think, like you said, there doesn't really tell us about the story. I think the big hook for me was what was going on with the other Russian agents when they were sitting down at that like kitchen table. And I know Florence Pugh has talked about it being a very raw, very painful story, and so saying that it has heart. So I'm thinking that's where what she's talking about is that that family aspect and seeing what's going to happen with that family. So I'm guessing probably one or two of those characters might end up dying.
Or they all betray her.
We got
Potentially
more
that
from this
too.
trailer than we did from any of the Rise of Skywalker trailers.
Yeah,
I still don't know what this is about.
pretty much.
I mean, this seems like it might be one of those cleanup films where Natasha's going back just to clean up the mess that she abandoned, like an old system or an old training school.
Maybe she kills them all.
Could be.
I'm still holding out hope for my scroll theory. That'd be great. At the end of the movie, you find out that she's replaced by a scroll, and the
real
Natasha
one's like
that
with Nick
died.
Fury somewhere.
I'm just saying. I'm just holding out, faith.
That'd be great.
She's
And
on
the
the
one-
spaceship with
And the one that
creator.
died was a scroll and not her. Which is why she jumped, and she made sure she jumped and not him. So
That'd be great. I can see the Marvel doing that, especially if Black Widow does really, really well.
I think. But they have to
Scarlett's
seed it.
talked about doing sequels already.
They got to seed it now, don't they?
They could seed it in this movie. I mean, there's still a lot of room for them to do an end cut scene at the end.
Think this movie makes $1 billion?
No, I say 600 mil.
Domestic.
Yeah, 6 to 7
or
to do
total?
Ant-Man numbers.
It's probably about that. It's probably about 7, I'd say.
I don't know, man. Both those. I mean, I know Spider-Man's like huge, and both of his films did over $1 billion.
With Spider-Man, though.
But then again, it's also Scarlett Johansson, and
I do love watching Scarlett Johansson.
like even though her other standalone films don't do that well, like Ghost in the Shell and Lucy and stuff like that.
Lucy, I like.
But-
She goes to the show.
With the
love
MCU
Lucy.
brand
I love
on
Lucy.
top of that should double the normal take.
Yeah, this is a Marvel machine. I mean, it's gonna make above 400 mil. It's about how far does it get above that, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
The third Thor film did over $1 billion, didn't it?
it did.
I think so.
Ragnarok.
Globally.
Did
Oh,
it really?
Ragnarok. I thought for some reason
Oh,
my
no.
mind went straight to the other one.
No, it did 853.
Oh,
Someone's playing music.
That's not me.
Looks like Drew's on his phone over there.
No, I was just checking something. Sorry.
Yeah, so Thor Ragnarok did 853. What did I don't
okay.
Civil War is like an Avengers film. I don't know if that's a fair comparison. Winter Soldier did
Ticket prices.
Winter Soldier did 714 million.
it deserved
2014.
It deserved more than that, but that's 2014.
It
so.
did.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I think you guys might be right there around. What did Ant-Man do?
About 5, wasn't it? Or
6?
4 or 5.
Let me check. Ant-Man and the Wasp did 623 million.
Yeah.
So
I see that be the
I
lowest
think
marker.
it'll probably be around Ant-Man numbers, I would think, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like you said though. It's Scarlet, so I'm
There's this
thinking
trend.
it'll be 7.
There's this trend now. I think people are just going ham at the theaters when it comes to one of those tentpole films. Like Joker made well over $1 billion.
I think that's word of mouth. I think it had long legs. It just kept going and going and going.
What was another recent movie? Frozen. What did Frozen make?
Oh, that's ridiculous. Frozen.
Yeah.
That's come on. It made
Joker was another
Frozen
level,
2.
though.
Sorry.
I mean, you're talking about a friggin' Oscar nominee.
mhm,
Yeah,
Frozen 2 has made 750 million already.
in a week.
Yeah. So
Kids movies, man, they're great.
Yeah. What was that? Australia?
Or New Zealand, I can't remember.
So yeah, I think it could be. I think it could do pretty well. I mean, I found the trailer pretty solid. There wasn't anything that really like turned me off.
It was
with
by
it.
numbers. Yeah.
Maybe the only thing that like might have turned me off was the comedic relief of David Harbour. I wasn't expecting that.
Dude, that was my draw.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I knew there was going to be some comedic relief, but I guess I was just I was expecting. I was expecting a serious like spy film.
Like the
but
jolly
it's Marvel.
mood, like the jolly mood he was in. It reminded me of Santa, dude.
Kind of, yeah,
A little bit.
a little bit.
Yeah.
All right,
I want to see see this him in an actual like I didn't see Hellboy, so I'm not sure how much was CGI or how much was him. I want to see him in that fight scene. If how much is him and versus a stunt double, see if he could pull it off. David Harbour. So
yeah, because I guess in the fight scene, he does some fight scenes in Stranger Things.
He punches people in the face and they fall asleep. I mean, it's not really a fight. I mean,
he fought that Terminator guy in the last season.
I guess
the Russian guy.
He lost twice, didn't he?
He got beat up pretty bad, and then he had to run away. I think they trap him in the building or that carnival attraction.
Yeah,
and then they run away. But yeah, I mean, with the right choreographer and stunt double, it should be pretty good.
Just want to see it. There are parts of it I like more than others. So,
all right.
And then the infamous trailer, the one I haven't seen yet.
Oh. No Time to Die was really more for me. No Time to Watch. So.
Yeah, same here.
I saw it popping up on my timeline. I just didn't really pay attention to it.
I planned on watching it last night, but I fell asleep.
Does James Bond not have that kind of pull anymore?
No, I was watching The Flash with my date, and that's what knocked us out.
Yeah, Flash will do that.
Yep.
All right, sorry about that. I was trying to get the James Bond video up, but my web browser isn't going to take that. So
yeah, I saw it.
All right, what did you think? What did you think about the No Time to Die trailer?
I mean, overall, there was some stuff that looked like, okay, this is a traditional Bond film. And then there's some things that concern me because like some of the dialogue that I saw in there, specifically
The Lashana Lynch stuff.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
It just was like, okay. You could see like the woke part coming out, and they tried to be diplomatic with the trailer so that they didn't showcase a lot of the woke stuff, but they still put some in. And you can see that, man, this film is going to be a hot mess with wokeness. I mean, I just got that gut feeling, and usually my woke radar is pretty decent. And I'm telling you right now, John, oh, man, it's coming.
I mean, I think what we've all seen with the reports from the Daily Mail and everything, that's what it seems to be trending in. I will say, based on the trailer, I only really got that with the Lashana Lynch vibe when she was like, they made a point to put that in there and like telling Bond to like stay in his lane.
We got a super chat.
What's that?
We got a super chat for $4.99.
Oh, it hasn't. I'm on the StreamYard, so it hasn't shown up yet. But thank you very much. Who is
J
it?
Money J.
J Money J. Thank you very much for the super chat. Do you want to read it, Drew?
Okay, so J Money J, thank you again. As John said, $4.99. Good looking out. There was a one-liner from Lashana Lynch was talking down to 007 in the trailer. It's a bit cringe. That's the only negative that is off-putting.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. That was the one thing that I thought was like, that's kind of weird. But if another, I don't know, I feel like it just felt like really weird. Like I guess you would have that internal rivalry at a spy agency, especially with someone like Bond. Maybe you want to prove yourself. Like Bond is like a living legend at MI6. So maybe someone who would want to like one-up Bond and like, hey, you've been out of the game for a couple of years. You're not going to just come back in here and like take my job or whatever. So you can like, you could see it from a story perspective where that could work. But we didn't really get that in the trailer. It was just kind of like stay in your lane, Bond. Like go back, like you're not coming in here. I'm the king of the house now. But yeah. I really like the end scene with the Aston Martin and the miniguns.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
that looks good.
That was freaking cool.
Yeah, gun car.
That feels
guns,
more
car
like
guns.
Bond.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. That
With the
was like
gadgets.
super cool. I was intrigued by what was going on with Madeline Swan. You kind of knew that they were gonna like have to break that up because it's Bond and he doesn't stay with one woman ever. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that conspiracy. And especially, it looks like she's working for MI6 as well. So I'm kind of interested to see what goes on there because I actually really like how that relationship formed in Spectre and where it went. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of secrets she has in her closet. I think they say. We didn't really get anything about like Rami Malek's character. Apparently, he's trying to play God, and he had that one line where he's kind of he talks about when you get old, your skills will fail you or something, but like mine will like continue to be the same. So that was actually kind of really interesting. I'm really like, is he trying to find some kind of like fountain of youth using technology to either like clone himself or something, or like maintain this kind of like whatever he is doing? That's kind of the vibe that I got from that. I'm not. What did you get from his character, Drew?
Yeah, I got that similar sort of vibe. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like what you said, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to be one of the more memorable sort of foils to Bond. I didn't get that sort of impression.
Yeah, I will say that I did. He wasn't in the trailer very often, and they also brought back Blofeld, which was a nice touch. He's just felt like way more charismatic in the trailer scenes. And I was like, holy crap, this guy's still like a threat, and he's like just sitting in this jail cell in like almost solitary confinement, and he's like messing with Bond here already, and like taunting him with Madeline Swan and her secrets. So I think the trailer almost had Blofeld might be obviously the bigger mastermind than Rami Malek's character. But I liked the trailer overall. It exuded Bond. There was the one real like Lashana Lynch part, which was cringe. But for the most part, I thought it was pretty interesting. And we'll see what happens moving forward. But I thought it was a solid, good trailer.
I mean, the trailer wasn't awful. It's just like I said, there was those couple things of woke that gave me some pause, and it gave me that little feeling in the pit of my stomach, like and it's hard for me to shake that once I get it, because, like I said, my woke radar is usually pretty good, and that that at least took it to yellow alert anyway for now. But overall, I mean, if you're just looking at the trailer from start to finish, yeah, it was pretty decent. I mean, there were a lot of things that still did feel Bond, but the only way that we're going to effectively be able to tell is when the full picture comes out. So
yeah, definitely. But what did everyone else think? What about you, Don? Have you checked it out yet?
I watched it on mute while you were all talking about it.
Okay.
So
what did you think?
I didn't hear any of the dialogue.
Okay.
I just saw the last scene where the gun started coming out of the headlights, and I'm just like, okay, there's the Bond that I know. There's the Bond with a laser watch and the freaking but
gadgets in the car and the cool car. Yeah.
I wasn't too much a fan of Daniel Craig's Bond for some reason, because it wasn't very gadget heavy. It was more this grounded kind of Bond, and I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with Pierce Brosnan,
Well, yeah, Sean I used to watch the old Sean Connery ones. One of my favorite is Never Say Never Again, and like he has like the jetpack and he's like shooting out of a submarine and
that's
everything.
Not even a Broccoli Bond film.
What's that? Yeah, I know.
It's a remake of Thunderball, but it's a better version of Thunderball.
Yeah, I really like that film a lot. Kim Basinger is the Bond girl, one of the main Bond girls in that one. but yeah, that one is that's one of my favorite Bond films, and like it has even then he had he was using all the gadgets and finding new ways to foil the people who are out to take over the world. But yeah, the car was like really cool. I've been waiting for that in a Bond film for a while. I think the last time we got like a cool car was Brosnan.
Yeah.
So with the stealth car.
Oh God, yeah.
Drove around.
Dude,
John
if it's
Cleese built
cheesy,
it for
but
him.
they just sell it to me as cheesy, then I'm fine. Laser watch, that's gonna give you cancer. I don't care. It looks cool.
And the X-ray glasses or whatever, right? What did you think about it, Phil?
I did the same thing Don did. I watched it on mute just not too long ago. It was looking at it, it looks like a Bond movie. I mean, I don't know what anyone was saying, but the only thing that really caught my eye was the end when the car starts spinning and the guns are shooting. I was like, oh, that looks dope. So I'm sure I'll watch it, with some volume after we're done. But it looks like, just the way it's shot, it looks like a faster paced Bond film, but it looks like a Bond film,
Yeah, that's what I got. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, maybe Q magic, than just the car. But the car was. I'm glad that they included that. That's the obviously selling point. What did you think, Script Doctor?
It looks like a Bond film. It's got some cool looking set pieces, but I get the feeling that Lashana Lynch is probably going to be, if not the main antagonist, like behind the curtains, definitely the agent, like a double agent. Just the posturing and the way that they set up that little brief shot before her, and when they insert her throughout the rest of the MI6. I don't think it's his wife that's really going to be the betrayer one in this one. I really think it's probably going to be Lashana Lynch's character, given the publicity they've set her out with at first. I mean, how evil it would, or how typical would it be for them to have a 007 being a betrayer as opposed to like another 00? I mean, it's just that one extra step that's the same but different.
Was it Sean Bean?
Alec
Yep.
Trevelyan.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of got that vibe a little bit too. And yeah, so there's some good stuff here. I think a lot of Bond tropes. So I'm looking forward to it. I really like Spectre a lot. So
yeah, I dipped out after Quantum of Solace. Like it just kind of put me off.
yeah, Quantum was a weak one, but I like Spectre. I thought Spectre was done really well. It was a little slow. I think Phil touched on that when he was talking about this trailer had a little bit more faster pace. I will say Spectre was more of a slow burn for a Bond film, but I enjoyed it. All right. Any last words about what is it? No Time to Die?
I'm surprised they didn't line up the O's so it'd be a 007 in the title.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. Whenever you see a Bond title that's got the 2 O's in the title and they double it up with the 7, it's like, oh, okay, cool. They actually like try to make a thematic thing for it. That's neat.
All right, so what do we want to get into next? We got a lot. There's a lot that we can talk about. Do you want to go into? I know, Script Doctor, you had some strong opinions about Robert Pattinson's recent comments about Batman.
What do you say?
Yeah, he goes back and forth between Batman's a complex character but simple character, and I'm like, yeah, actors love complex characters, but the moment they say they're simple, it's like, yeah, you're either touting your own horn of how good of an actor you are, or you just don't understand what it is you're doing. Because like Batman is a really gray character. Like prior to like what Frank Miller did with him, Batman was never a black and white on justice. Like there was some issues here and there where it was kind of like pretty obvious what Batman's going to do, but when they got into like the Silver St. Cloud area and Rupert Thorne and all those stuff back in the 70s, like that was like some good comics there, and it wasn't like easy for Batman to make choices.
Yeah, so I think, Philip, you were asking what Robert Pattinson said. So he appeared on Today, and he said that I love every iteration of how it's been played. I feel like everyone has really looked after the character over its history. There's a lot of reverence for it. You can really feel it at the studio. So he's talking about Warner Brothers, and how he says that he feels like they respect Batman. And then he also said that he doesn't believe that Batman is a superhero. He says it doesn't count. You need to have like magical powers to be a superhero. And then he back in October, he had said Batman's not a hero, though he's a complicated character. I don't think I could ever play a real hero. There's always got to be something a little bit wrong. And then he talked about his like morality, and he said his morality is a little bit off. He's not the golden boy, unlike almost every other comic book character. There is a simplicity, or simplicity to his worldview. But where it sits is strange, which allows you to have more scope with the character. So that's what he's said about Batman.
Yeah, it sounds like he's talking out of his ass.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
His character.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of rambling. What was
cool.
interesting is he did say that he like, I think he said in another interview that he actively sought out the role of Batman instead of like Warner Brothers approaching him. He actually was trying to be the next Batman.
And that's
Why?
unheard of because no actor who ever wants to be Batman ever gets Batman. That's like WB's #1 rule.
Yeah, well, he
So
said that
otherwise
he
they
did.
had him in line first, and then he just happened to also say he wanted to do the role at the same time, and WB just didn't release it.
Right. But do we want to, like, so I know Script Doctor talked about it a little bit, but do you guys have any reaction to him calling Batman not a superhero because he doesn't have any superpowers?
He
And
punched
that
Superman in the face. I mean, at that point, he just needs to shut up. It's like he punched. Come on, man. Batman's not a superhero because he doesn't have powers. That's the entire point of Batman.
You're talking about he has the power of intelligence. That's
Yeah.
a superhero trait.
Yeah.
That's an idiot.
Oh, he's also like highly disciplined. He's a master of multiple martial arts.
Peak human is what they call him.
Yeah.
Peak human.
The world's greatest detective. I mean, that's
Yeah,
And he has a strong moral center, which is what is part of his flaw, because when he sees situations that he can't like reconcile with what he has to do, but knows that there's a decision that's wrong, but it's technically right overall, that's his struggle. And that's what makes him really interesting, especially as a detective.
yeah. You ever see that episode where he faces off against the Croc King
Yes,
in Batman the Animated Series?
that's a great episode.
He sees those kids getting imprisoned by this guy and working as that guy's slaves, and he doesn't go to the courts. He doesn't go to the juries. He says he is incensed and he wants to take care of it himself.
But he won't.
And-
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like,
it's you never see that character ever again.
yeah,
And that
'cause
had an
that one
impact on
pushed
me. Oh my gosh, you pushed him to just go
almost
all
right
out.
over the edge. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like the Joker's never gotten him that far in that series.
Yeah. So, I mean, to push a man's moral fibers that much, you would understand that he's not operating on a scale of simplicity. He is operating on some complex workings of what he is restrained to do. And when you push those restraints, you are just deplorable on every level.
Not to mention, there was that episode. There was an episode in that series early on when he was replaced by a robot.
Yep.
And the robot,
robot
and the robot,
Bardak.
and robot ended up destroying itself because he thought he killed him. And Batman's moral center about not killing was so ingrained into his psyche that the robot lost his, I took a
mind.
life. That's how he was defeated, or he destroyed himself. I don't remember quite what happened, but I remember him
He
freaking
threw
out.
his fist into the Hardak computer that was in the Batcave
Uh-huh.
and exploded.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that episode.
That-
His
I mean,
Silicon Soul, I
that's
think,
pretty
was the title of that.
complex. It's pretty complex. Like someone who thought he was Batman or was pretending to be, it was so hard, ingrained into him that he lost his mind when he thought he broke his most sacred rule. I mean, that's pretty deep.
Yep. Not only
Especially for a
that,
kids show.
the complexity of a man who decides to dress up as a bat because he knows it'll give him an advantage. Like people think he dresses up a bat because he likes it. He's like, nope, that's a tool. Because a lot of people say Batman is the man, and well, there is a certain truth to that. It's really Batman is what Bruce Wayne does, because he's always been Bruce Wayne. He just kind of morphed into this newer version of Bruce Wayne. The only one that really knows him is Alfred. He has a public persona where he's the billionaire playboy or the really well-established philanthropist or head of Wayne Enterprises. And then he's got the monster to criminals that is Batman. But if you're not a criminal and you talk to Batman, he will have that type of stoic, gruff atmosphere, but he's still going to be a bit more on the Bruce Wayne side of benevolent and approachable and like full of heart. And that's kind of what makes him such a rounded character. And Superman has a very similar thing. Like Clark Kent's the core, and then he's like Clark Kent news reporter, which is slightly different. And then he's Superman, idealistic hero. But both of those two, reporter and Superman, is what he does, and what his core is this Clark Kent, this farm boy that was raised by two really amazing parents. And that's what makes the dynamic of a superhero really, really shine and stand out. And sadly, we don't get a whole lot of that in some of the other big seven from DC.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't that remind me of? It reminds me of the was it Kill Bill, when Bill was talking about who Superman was? How Superman, he's always Superman. He wakes up Superman. He eats. He's still Superman. Clark Kent is disguise. And Clark Kent is how he deceives the human race. That Clark Kent's he's clumsy, he's weak, he's cowardly, and that's his disguise of the human race. That's his judgment of the human race. So,
and I like how that speech is technically entirely wrong compared to what Superman actually is, and it also proves the point why Bill fails at the end and why the bride wins. Because
I think that's what Kevin Conroy talked about in an interview. He talked about his approach to the role as he saw Batman as the main character and Bruce Wayne was the mask. Yeah,
that's an old take on it. I mean, the thing is, the public persona of Bruce Wayne, absolutely the mask. Like, no dispute there. It's just that, like, when Batman's in the cave and he's in the costume and he's talking to Alfred, he's not the Batman that you see out on the streets. Like, but that point there,
that
the
guy that's like
that
hanging criminals upside down and punching them in the face to get information.
Yeah, that guy that you see in the Batcave talking to Alfred 101, that is the core character. That's Bruce Wayne, who just happens to be wearing a Batman costume. When he goes outside and he's fighting criminals or doing detective work, that's his Batman persona in full gear. And then when he's out partying on the town out of the costume, that's his pretend gear Bruce Wayne persona. But when he's in that cave talking with Alfred, there's no mask there. And that's just the core of the character. That's the guy at the top of the totem pole. The other two are just branches of him that he has to maintain publicly in order for him to achieve his goal, which is, get Gotham back on the right track and commit to the oath he swore.
Yeah, that's definitely not not simplistic. That's complex to the nth degree. Having to maintain these multiple different personas, and it's not just having to maintain the playboy philanthropist persona. He's actually got to go out and make those decisions as well. And he's also like maintaining his company, and that has to do with whether he's making those decisions. He's also having to he's making like hiring decisions for people to maintain them and keeping like the right people around him, making those like character judgments. I think you were talking about Bruce Wayne being a human. That's why he brings in a lot of these individuals like Dick Grayson to take care of them, because he wants to try and help them.
It also helps himself as well, because he knows he can go over the edge. And the other thing that I love about Bruce Wayne, he hasn't been doing it much in the comics, at least during the time when I stopped reading, was that he knew every single employee on a first last name, their whole lives basis. Everyone in Wayne Enterprises across all branches across the entire world, like he knew, and he always he always made time to at least talk to them when he was around. And like, that's something no philanthropist, no billionaire, no businessman really takes the effort to do. But like, it kind of shows you a little bit of the truth of who Bruce Wayne is and how appreciative he is of the people that he brings into his life. Even though he'll be cold and distant to them as Batman or boisterous as billionaire Bruce Wayne, there's something about that to him that keeps him himself human and makes what he's doing worth the fight and sacrifice that he puts upon himself.
Well, that's why he goes out. Yeah, that's why he goes out and dresses up as a bat and becomes Batman. Is because he wants to ensure that what happened to him as a child does not happen to anyone else.
Regardless of financial class or anything. He's like, no, like nothing.
Yeah, and he knows that, and he sees that in Gotham. He can only do that as the Batman. He can't do it as he tries to do it as Bruce Wayne too. He works both angles. He's working the Batman angle and the Bruce Wayne angle, whether that's through political life, through philanthropy, through his business. He's working all of these different angles to try and save Gotham, and he finds the most effective one is Batman for the most part.
It's the quickest action, because when I pitched one of my Batman shows a few years ago, I said Bruce Wayne doesn't appear for the first season. It's Batman. He figures out that as Bruce Wayne, he can't help Gotham because there's too much corruption. Any money he puts in anything, it's going to be going to criminals eventually. So he creates Batman to root it out, and then Bruce Wayne comes back to Gotham a year later, and then he tackles it from 2 points. There's no corruption, so the money he invests goes to where it's supposed to, and there's enough fear in the city from the bad guys of Batman that he's able to not be out every night to do his stuff, and he focuses on actual detective work and high crime stuff, and it just makes it more balanced and a little bit more believable as to Batman being that surgical type of character, the guy who surgically finds the root of a problem, breaks it apart, gets justice, and then moves on to the next. Because if you incorporate some of the aspects of his parents into his personality as a kid, like his father was a surgeon, his mother, not really much background on her, but I would figure she'd be a lawyer or at least a social worker of some kind. And that's how it kind of culminates in a Batman character in the modern day. And he takes the best of his parents to fuel his goal of doing good in Gotham. And I think that's where the character kind of needs to go in the current age. Too often he's been boiled down to a two-dimensional character when he's really far, far more complex.
That's probably where he got his mistaken analyzation of the character from.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the mistakes that Batman vs Superman makes is with Batman's characterization and how he's like this solely focused on Superman.
Yeah, that was out of left field because he was never like that.
And Gotham and Metropolis being a one bay apart,
Yeah.
that seemed weird.
Yeah,
that was weird. Yeah, I thought so. No one noticed that.
The costumes were great, but it wasn't enough.
All right, so do we want to move on? I know. Do you want to talk about what Henry Cavill had to say the other day?
Sure.
So he had some really interesting comments. Let me pull it up here real quick.
Everyone's living on Cavill now.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's getting lots of love. So he did an interview promoting The Witcher with I think this guy works for Fox in Chicago. The guy's name is Jake Hamilton, and Hamilton asked it was a paragraph, more than a paragraph almost, to get around to what he thought about what Cavill thought about toxic fandom, and he had a very interesting response. Cavill said, "I understand what you are saying, but when it comes to fans, it is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have." And then he added, "People are going to be upset, especially when you are talking about books or games, because you are never going to be the exact person who they had in their head or who they played in Witcher 3, for example. I don't necessarily consider that toxic. I just consider that passionate, and it's something that which I obviously had to come to terms with over the years." And then he would continue.
Experience.
They're going to cancel him.
Oh, that's what people are saying.
Yeah, he said the wrong thing right there.
Can't side with the consumer.
Unlocked, though. For me, with the comparison is not like that with Geralt walking into a bar. Comparison is more meta. It's more to do with xenophobia and sexism and colonialism and all those effects that has on people and who they divert their fear and energy towards, and that tends to be Geralt. So he's specifically talking about the people in the world of The Witcher, because he is a guy who exists outside of society, and then he continues to explain he's not part of a group when he walks into town, and he looks so different from everyone else, and no one can control him. He's faster, stronger, better at swords, and apparently can do magic as well. You can't control him, and you fear him, and therefore all of your energy, especially in a crowd of people, will be diverted at him because of everything that is happening above you in the world. So that's what he had to say about toxic fandom. And the part where he's talking about where he's talking about Geralt going into the bar, the guy asked him, he said, this guy, Jake Hamilton, said, I'm curious if that's comparable to this sort of world, this culture of toxic fandom, where like if you make a movie, especially if you make a superhero movie, you have great intentions, but there are always going to be a small yet vocal group of people that can kind of just be toxic. And that's what Cavill was talking about there. So I actually thought this was a fantastic response. I thought he hit the nail on the head. And he basically, like if you watch the video, which we have on the website, the guy was obviously trying to bait Cavill to get him to say something. And Cavill like did not tell him what he wanted him to say. And he just like moved on to the next question like immediately. But I thought this was a great response. It's very different from what we've been seeing from a lot of other people, especially with what we saw with like Elizabeth Banks, with Charlie's Angels, what we saw with like Ghostbusters, and the list goes on and on and on. And this was definitely refreshing to hear. And I really appreciate what he had to say here.
Yeah, he's saying an old lesson that first-year writing students get told, which is your audience is never wrong. You just weren't effective. Like, that's just how it is. As a writer, if your audience says something and you're like, well, that's not right, it just means that you as a writer failed communicating accessibly the idea that you were trying to communicate. And that's why, like, if an audience says, hey, I didn't like this movie, this is the reason why, as a writer, you don't just slap them down. You're like, okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to see what I can do to avoid repeating that mistake in future work. But if they just say it sucks, then it's like, well, if you can't tell me why it sucks, I'm not going to listen to you. But any writer worth their salt will always ask a follow-up question to learn how they can be better. And that's slowly bleeding over into the acting community. Cavill saying that thing, it's brilliant. Did he fire his last agent and then get a new one? Because his last agent does manipulate him like, the agent I last knew him having manipulated the hell out of him for years.
Well, he's got The Rock's agent now.
Okay.
From what I understand. And who's like The Rock's ex-wife? Her name's like Danny Garcia. I don't know if that's the same person.
Oh wait, no, that is the same person. Yeah, she's got a reputation of being quite protective and dominant over her clients.
Oh.
But so him saying this is kind of stepping out of that control, really. It's really smart of him to say something like that.
Yeah, well, it seemed like it was something that he knew was coming. Like he knew those questions were coming, and he was definitely well prepared for it.
Well, he's had the experience. He's been Superman in 2 very disappointing DC movies.
He's been kind of
maybe
Superman.
3. Yeah, and that's probably the argument.
He's won the Oscar.
I'd love to see him as actual Superman.
It's like, oh, you're not the Richard Donner Superman. You're not living up to the Christopher Reeves version of Superman that I have in my headcanon. It's just that years and years of that just coming at him, and he's just got to come to terms with, you know what? I'm probably not. But
I'd settle with Dean Cain's Superman if he could just give us someone hopeful.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, when you bring a superhero character down to a humanistic level to the point where it's depressing to watch them. It's not, you're being antithetical to what the point of a hero is. I mean, I understand the hero's journey where you want to make them like reject the call and go through a challenge. But with a character like Superman, there are better and more effective ways to do that than just have him being a wandering nomadic character who just luckily enough gets a journalism job at a prestigious newspaper by the end for no apparent reason. Like, come on.
Or he's destroying people's rigs because they insulted him in a cafe or whatever.
And doing it silently, like no one heard that outside?
No one heard it. No one saw that. A giant truck flying through the air, or at least a pole flying through the air. It's like, wow, something flew through the air. So
that was a really noisy diner, super noisy. But yeah, no, I think that as far as like wanting a joyous Superman, I think I don't know what you thought about Shazam, but I mean it's possible to do a hero that has Superman's like insane powers and have him be fun and have him fighting the good fight and having those ideals that you want to look up to.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. I felt there was a disconnect between the young character and Zachary Levi trying to play the same guy. Like Zach Levi felt like he was playing a younger version than the teenager kid. But outside of that, it was fun. I had a couple of friends who worked on that film.
Yeah, Zachary Levi is kind of a young guy at heart, and especially when he drinks. So it's just like, anyone party with Zachary Levi lately?
I was gonna say, do you have experience with this song?
Yeah.
No,
Good
I've only
story.
heard 2 stories when they were filming Shazam. He was talking about video games for like 3 hours straight when he got wasted one night. That's what I heard.
Is that when they recorded him playing Mortal Kombat?
But yeah, fun guy to hang out with. If any of you guys are in the Comic-Con area next year, hit him up. Nobody.
What did you think about Cavill's statement here, Drew?
I mean, I
That's
think
pondering.
it's good. It's refreshing because we need more actors to come out and say something, blunt statements like this that can relate to fans, so fans understand. Okay, some people actually get it, because a lot of people are walking away from movies now. Traditional moviegoers anyway, because they're throwing up their hands. They're fed up. They feel like nobody's relating to them. And for actor to make a statement like that, it'll give people some pause to say, okay, maybe some people in Hollywood are starting to get it. And, slowly but surely, I've talked about this with Script Doctor at length, that the business is eventually going to take a turn back, because especially if they continue to lose money. And I think this is the appropriate time for people to start in the business to start speaking up. And it's good that there's active voices. There needs to be more. And perhaps people will follow in Cavill's footsteps now that, a pretty prominent actor has said something.
Question is, will people discount or discredit it, whatever he has to say about it, because he's in that WASP majority?
Well, some will. I mean, you got
He's just a white guy.
I mean, yeah, you got a point. You got a point, Don. But of course, there's going to be like the usual suspects are going to come after him, like the ultra hardcore of the alphabet community, and
He's already had them go after him. They tried to Me Too him, I think,
He's too male.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they'll be.
Yeah,
like,
that was BS.
they'll be like he's toxic. Yeah, exactly. He's too male. And then somebody of course will give
See all that hair he has? Mm-mm.
Yeah, somebody will give
See all that chest?
Somebody
He actually
will give
he talked about that. He was sad that he had to cut off his mustache.
yeah, somebody will give the
bonus
obligatory. He's too white. It's all coming. But
Yeah, so back in 2018, he was asked about like the Me Too movement, and he said that he like doesn't date anymore because
I remember
of it.
that. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
And they tried to destroy him for that.
yeah, he's right though. So many people like don't date now because of that. Guys are like, man, I ain't getting caught up in no trap.
Wait, trap, right? Just
You meant, yeah.
There are some crazies out there on both of the original 2 genders. I remember before the Me Too movement happened, like 3 of my producer friends got like calls from the police department asking them to just come down to do a statement, and then they find out that they've been accused of something horrible, and they're like, what the hell happened?
Oh my gosh.
And through a thorough investigation, they were exonerated because they were all ex-girlfriends that just got pissed off and thought they had a lot of money. And one thing I got to remind people is that even if you live in Hollywood and you're getting those big movie dollar paychecks, you're still not living like an elite life. Like, I don't even know what the elite definition is anymore, because I know Hollywood producers that have made $1 million films and they still live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 other people just trying to eke by on rent and expenses and stuff. It's not as glamorous as you think it is. There's a handful of people that actually legitimately own their own homes in Hollywood, and it's not who you think they are. and a lot of the money, like the $50 million that Robert Downey Jr. gets, that goes into Team Downey to keep it afloat, to find him new projects. He doesn't see much of it, but he gets enough. And also because of his status, he gets a lot of free stuff as well. But he has to keep making movies in order to make money, to not only support his company, but to support himself as well. And it's not as much as we all think it is at the end of the day.
That's why Doolittle's coming out.
Doolittle is also a passion project of his, but yes.
No.
But yeah, absolutely. And that's why he's probably going to be in the Black Widow film. And he'll probably be showing up in Disney Plus series and things like that. It's going to keep his company and the responsibility he has afloat until he decides to transition to another area of the medium or retire. But yeah, like, I mean, I've been in meetings where I've met some fairly prominent actors and their agents, and they're wearing sweatpants and beat up T-shirts because they just got out of a meeting where they had to wear a suit, and they're like, "I'm not wearing that crap anymore." You're like, "Okay, cool. I'm not important enough for hygiene. That's fine. I'm nobody too." So,
but yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see more people like Cavill come out and talk about it. I hope more people will. I'm not sure if that's going to happen in the near future. I think if you see a couple more like huge flops, like Dark Fate, and what was the other one that just bombed? Charlie's Angels. You might see that. Although, I mean, I think with Charlie's Angels bombing, and then literally 2 weeks later, we're getting a report that Elizabeth Banks is doing an Invisible Woman.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
Adaptation. I think that kind of shows you where Hollywood's still going and
failing upward.
Yeah, where they're going with that. I know. Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
No, I was just gonna say, John, they're gonna continue to push this until they lose so much money that they can't afford to push the narrative anymore. They're gonna keep going on with it until they lose so much money it's not profitable, period. And then they'll turn away from it because they have to.
Think Cats will make more than Charlie's Angels?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though it looks creepy as all hell.
I think a lot of Taylor Swift people are going to go.
Keep those things 900 miles from me, please.
I was a kid when it debuted in Ontario at the Pantages Theater, and that thing was rampant. I had nightmares from those commercials when I was a child when they'd advertise the play, because it just freaked me out. But like, it just kept going and going and going, and the entire neighborhood has been growing up like a 4 or 5 year old kid, just hearing Cats. Everybody loves Cats. It's great Cats. I'm like, I don't want to see it. It scares the crap out of me. Show me Batman '89 again.
Dude,
Joker stabbing a guy with a pen quill is less freakier than Cats.
Even the original Cats wasn't as bad as this, man. This is like friggin' like just nightmare distorted, just insanity. I was like, oh my God, stay away.
But we're all in agreement that it's going to make more than Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
The fascination factor alone is going to bring in a good opening for them.
Is that this weekend?
Some people are going to go
this weekend or next. Yeah.
Some people are going to go thinking it's a horror movie.
They will be scared. I can assure you of that.
I don't think it'll be too. I mean, there's not like Charlie's Angels has made. It's always killing me here. I gotta always search it twice here. Don't give me an option to pick the movie. Let's see if this will work. So what did it? It made $8 million its opening weekend, and it's up to $51 million total.
More than I thought it.
Charlie's Angels. 17 million domestics, so 34 million globally. Which I'm still skeptical of all these global numbers. I'm not sure how accurate they are.
No, I think something's being padded out too. It's been kind of weird because some of my buddies in LA have been saying, I can't believe that this movie made X amount in China, and we're like, yeah, it's kind of messed up. And also, more rumors about studios buying larger numbers of ticket sales in-house is kind of spreading, which is also kind of weird. Like, we always knew about a little bit of it here and there, just like even out around
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's not just Disney. It's other studios doing it too.
Yeah.
It used to be done just to round out a number for tax purposes. Like if something's like a few $100,000 or a few $1 million short of a certain number, they would do that just to make it easier for a higher tax credit. But now it just seems like it's just manipulation for reputation purposes.
All right, we got another super chat, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Orville Nation for $5. Bounding into comics just continues to impress so much with your content. I feel like guys are just going to blow up big real soon. You know what, Orville Nation? You, sir, are going to blow up big real soon. Thank you so much for the super chat. You're awesome, and we appreciate all you guys out there that support us. I mean, you guys are awesome for being in here, either being wrenches or just hanging out in the chat, keeping things going and participating with the topics. I mean, you guys rock, and we appreciate you reading us and participating in the streams.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out Orville Nation's YouTube channel, I definitely recommend it. We found a couple stories we did over the past couple weeks. They've had the scoop there. Gates McFadden maybe showing up on Star Trek Picard or the Orville. So they have a lot of good stuff happening over there. So definitely,
yeah, he's a machine over there.
Yeah, definitely head over there. Give them a sub as well.
And also, Orville
they're
Nation.
great.
Orville Nation is a big supporter of the upcoming big push to get some Stargate back out into the major arenas here, and that's going to be awesome.
Perfect segue. Yeah, so if you didn't know, I think it's Paramount, right? Or no, it's MGM. MGM shut down their main Stargate website, Stargate Command, which was where they were doing a lot of streaming, and they had a little bit of some original content, I believe, was on there, and they shut that down, and they're migrating most of it over here to YouTube. But with that shutting down, Joseph Malozzi, I think I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, Joseph Malozzi.
He's been a producer on Stargate since SG-1. He's been part of Atlantis. He was part of Universe. The guy lives, breathes Stargate, and he is going to be doing a Stargate tweet storm, which is here in just 2 days on Friday. I think that's Friday, right? Yeah, December 6th, to promote a new Stargate show. And if you're fans of Stargate, you're definitely going to want to participate. Fans of good sci-fi, you definitely want to participate in this. Malozzi knows what he's doing with Stargate, and he doesn't want just a new Stargate show. He wants an in-canon Stargate show that's going to not only be respectful for fans of the franchise, but also to bring in new people. So he hasn't. It's going to be, what time was it here? Let me pull it up real quick. So yeah, it's definitely December 6th, and it's going to be at. Oh crap! He's using military time. I got to do time in my head now. 9 o'clock.
I'll translate it for you.
2100 is 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Yeah.
So it'll be at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We'll probably jump in and do that before we do our Mandalorian chapter 5 review, which is what we'll be doing. Orville Nation is saying that Malozzi's idea for a new Stargate will not be woke, that's definitely a good thing when it comes to your sci-fi entertainment.
But the thing with Stargate, it doesn't need to be woke. They've always had strong female characters throughout the entire franchise.
Teal'c is the best, man.
Yeah, they're also
Amanda Tapping, yeah.
They're also very they're also very faithful to their material. I mean, they haven't. Even when they did Universe, and I was talking to Phil about this earlier today, because we were discussing, he asked me what I thought about Universe. And even though that sort of, back at that time, BSG was on, and it was just, and they had just started going into the Caprica series, and that whole sort of the dark visuals and sort of serious stuff was looked to be a new trend because it was successful, and so they kind of modeled Universe in that vein. And Universe, to me, it was meh, but it turned out to be a pretty good show. Now the thing is, though, overall with the Stargate TV shows they've been very faithful to their own material. They haven't strayed into too much of the political side of things. They are like they do have the Star Trek formula where they will sometimes show a moral dilemma, but it's always been done fairly. And the biggest thing is they inject comedy. Stargate was really good with comedy in their shows. Like
That was Richard Dean Anderson's request.
yeah, they had perfect comedic timing either on SG-1 or Atlantis, man, and it was like sprinkled in so well in just about every episode. So
Window of Opportunity, one of the best SG-1 episodes ever.
yep.
The time loop,
Mm-hmm.
hilarious.
Oh, that was great, dude. I love that episode, Phil.
Oh, we got another super chat there for you, John.
Yeah.
For
For $2.
from TechCom for $2, he says, "If you're reading this, you are the Resistance."
That's Mega Jetty One, his other channel.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, Mega.
Terminator lore.
Okay,
Yeah.
hey, Mega Jetty.
All I could say,
Appreciate
all I could say, Mega Jetty, as long as I'm not the Resistance from Star Wars, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be the Resistance in Star Wars.
They don't win. But no, I'm going back to Stargate. Well, he's been seeding some things. Like I think he put out a poll asking if he tagged WB and Sony, a whole bunch of streaming service people who are launching streaming services, and asked would you buy a streaming service if they were getting a brand new Stargate property? I was like, that was pretty cheeky of him to do that, but the fact that he wants to, that shows you where he wants to go with this and where it should be. I don't understand why Netflix hasn't descended upon this and scooped this up by now, or Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime's already hosting all the series right now, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in store. I mean, the last time he did this, I didn't know what was happening. I was already following him, and he just tweet after tweet of just random details that I didn't know about the series for like almost 2 days. It was spread out over a couple days. This time it's looking like he's starting at 9 o'clock, and I'm assuming he's going to be done sometime around midnight, because last time he just did it. He did. I don't think it was really announced. He just started dumping information on us. So this one seems a little bit more concentrated, like he has something planned, or he's trying to get us hyped up for something. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it is, because I'm stupid excited.
Another super chat here. Orbital Nation for $5. Yes, Philip, no need to be woke. Colonel Samantha Carter was on the flagship field team before women were even allowed in combat in the real Air Force.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was exploring foreign worlds and getting in combat missions with them and held her own.
Yes, friggin' legend.
Yeah, man.
So we did have we got a question from Mark. Mark was asking, we're going to detour from Stargate here real quick. Was asking if we are going to be watching Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think, Phil, you might be the only one who kind of pays attention to the Arrowverse. No, you completely dropped out of
I
the Black
dropped out
Lightning.
of it. I don't even watch Black Lightning anymore.
I'm with Black Lightning. I want to catch up with that. I haven't caught up with that yet.
Oh no! I tried to watch it a couple last week, and I was already on the fence. And then one of the characters said something about, now that a woman's involved, maybe I'll get something done. And I was like, okay, that was unnecessary. And I was like, I just turned it off and never went back to it. I was like, I already don't like the character, and that made me like the character less. It's like, it's not necessary. It's just like it just pushing and prodding. It's just like, it's not necessary. It's so much virtue signaling in this one show. Is like, last season it was fine. This season is just like annoying. I just can't take it anymore.
Yeah, that whole thing's a hard pass for me. I won't be watching it.
I'll see the Batwoman portion for sure because I'm reviewing that for my channel. But
God,
I don't know.
man.
The Flash couldn't hold my attention last night. I don't think the other shows are going to be able to. And I watched Batwoman first thing Monday morning just so I can't fall asleep.
What happened last night? I like literally have tuned out of Arrowverse for like the past couple of years, but
They got that okay actor from Heroes being one of the villains, I think. Like he's a good-looking guy, but he's not a very good actor in my opinion. And we were watching a monologue
Indian
about something.
guy, right?
Yeah, I think so. And
Mohinder?
Mohinder. There
oh,
you go.
Mohinder.
yes.
Oh,
Okay.
And I don't know. I remember him. He somehow infected Barry, and then the next thing I know, I wake up and it's daylight out.
wow.
Like I just couldn't. It was just so weird. Like my date thought we only slept for like 2 hours because it was like 9 in the morning, or she thought it was 9 at night. But I'm like, there's daylight outside. She's like, oh crap, and we're like, yep, we're late. I'm late for work. Are you late for work? She's like, yep, we gotta go.
Nice. Yeah, I think honestly the only TV I'm going to be watching is probably Treadstone, The Mandalorian, and The Expanse. When that starts, that's going to be it for me.
Oh, I'm looking forward to The Expanse.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
got to
all.
see the first episode already. It was good.
That's all I'm going to be watching because to me everything else is pretty much trash.
I'm gonna put one on my list though. The Witcher.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably skip The Witcher, but
Really? Even after the stand-up performance of Henry Cavill and that.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate him doing that IRL, but man, like, dude, like the stuff that we've read about that we've documented about The Witcher already, man, it feels like it's gonna go so woke, man. Miss me with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, besides yesterday, somebody like some chick on my Steam friends list gifted me the new Halo Master Chief collection, and something tells me I'm going to be putting some time into that.
Stream it.
I mean, that was part of my friggin' golden age of gaming, man. I got to go and experience that again.
You can't go back.
So I do want to get back into Stargate here a little bit. We got a comment from Joe Tuber, which I really relates to what my interest in Stargate as well. And it's not just sci-fi fans; it's history fans too. Because you have the archaeological digs in Egypt from the main film, and like them discovering all of the symbols and everything, and like learning about like these past histories and like the Asgardians and learning about their influence on the history as well. So Stargate is just it's really, really cool. And Joe Tuber says regarding Stargate, recommend to follow Brian Forrester, search Petra and Jordan, Real Stargate, Napa, Oaxaca, and Peru. Stargate fans are probably only one to not be sci-fi but history fans, and I definitely think that's true. That's definitely one of the appeals to me with Stargate is that it has like a rich history, and it kind of like it uses sci-fi to tie in with our like real world history as well, which I've always found that really interesting.
Addressing Joe Tuber's point, Joe, believe it or not, call me the sort of like nutso out there dude, but sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I listen to that Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, and they were talking about some of this stuff recently, and that stuff's fascinating, and you get a lot of that represented in Stargate because they cover that, especially Michael Shanks' character being Daniel Jackson. Man, he went over a lot of that stuff, and it was really great.
Well, I can say the same thing about gargoyles. I mean, if you watch the series, I mean that when I was a kid, I think Don said the same thing. I was thinking about Shakespeare. That's crazy. I was 11 years old thinking about. I knew who Macbeth was and the Weird Sisters and come on. So.
And hello, Lisa Martinez with the ...
The ellipsis.
What we got next?
There's a lot we still have to talk about. I know. So let's do.
There's a lot going on over the last 2 weeks.
We didn't get to do our Mandalorian Chapter
Ooh.
4
Right.
review.
3 or 4.
We did 3. You just weren't here.
No.
It was just me. It was me by myself with 3.
Yeah, I caught a few seconds of that. It was.
It was a lot quicker than normal with just me. But yeah, so we can go around and talk about 3 a little bit as well. I really liked 3. I thought it was the best episode so far.
3 was really solid.
Dude.
You know, I kind of like the big climactic rescue at the end. You know, with the other Mandalorians coming to help him in battle. That was sweet. You know, I found it to be really good. I enjoyed both 3 and 4.
It's John Wick with a baby.
Yeah, they did the scene where they excommunicado.
It was great. I mean,
There was a little beeper going off.
yeah, you guys know, like I've already said, I'm not a huge Star Wars guy. I've watched all the all the films, but I watched Chapter 3, the episode 3 4 times. It was ridiculous. I absolutely loved that episode. From when he went in to when he came out, it was ridiculous. And when he was fighting on Gans had a gunfight on the street itself, and he's taking him out normal, and then he pulls out the little rifle, like, oh, someone's getting disintegrated. It was, he starts blowing people up.
Dude, that rifle wrecks, man.
Why aren't there more of those rifles around? It's like,
I know that
Carl Weathers even said that's a nice rifle there.
that rifle wrecks.
and no one knew what it was. That's the funny part. Like, he just pulled out. It was just sitting there, just like, what's he gonna do? He's gonna shoot me. It's not a big deal. And boom,
Dude,
boom. Everyone's like, what the hell?
Painless death.
That one part where he flamethrowered the stormtrooper was awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
I loved how he had all the different types of kills.
Yeah.
And he
The
was like
scorpion
infiltrating. Yeah, I know. I talked about this
Get over here.
on the review, but I thought it was very Batman Arkham City esque. How he was like infiltrating through the building and
Hiding and jumping out. Yeah.
yeah. It felt very Batman Arkham, which I really liked that, and I thought that was really cool.
Except the magic missile moment.
Well,
I still don't understand what the heck that was. It's like someone hit like a Roman candle or something. It was kind of strange.
Well, you know, continuing the RPG, you had kind of everything in this episode. He went and did a dungeon. You know, he went real quick back to his home base. You know, and then an opposing force tried to attack the home base, and the automated NPCs that were on his side helped drive him away.
Well, you missed the part. He got the armor upgrade, the full armor upgrade.
Yeah, he
Full
got
armor
the full armor upgrade.
Oh, I think his boots and one thigh plate are still old, but yeah,
Yeah.
he got
Okay.
still it's a significant. Like I enjoyed 3 a lot. I did think the Mandalorian clan coming to his rescue was a bit Deus Ex Machina because
It was, yeah.
how are they monitoring him? Like I don't get how
think
that
that
works.
was
I don't get how
more
the
like-
fobs work.
Well, actually, they weren't hiding what was happening. I mean, every bounty hunter on the planet basically got a ping. I'm thinking when that kind of action's going on, it's kind of hard to disguise. It's like, hey, there's something going on, and I'm just, I'm putting some reason out there. I'm not saying that's what happened, but
Yeah,
they weren't
Oh, no.
hiding what was going on. So
I think
they
that's a
just missed
Filoni
something
thing.
that would communicate that idea, like at editing or something. Like
yeah, they could have like had one of them show up with one of the homing devices and have it blinking. It's like, oh, you put the bat signal out there, everyone showed up to help.
Yeah,
I still don't like. I don't like those. I don't like the GPS trackers.
Neither
They're
do
way
I.
too OP.
The fobs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
they
just
haven't
look-
explained how they worked.
they
But-
just look stupid. They look so janky, man. It looks like some little thrown together trinket. Like seriously, that would be on your keychain.
it actually looks like something you'd see at a sketchy auto shop. Like they're just kind of running around the car and be like,
exactly.
"Yeah, I found something wrong here."
exactly, dude.
$600
There's something
repair.
attached to my car here. What is this?
Exactly. That's what it looks like. Because it looks so like not even like technology at all. It's just like little.
No, it raises too many questions. Like, why couldn't they use that for characters like the Jedi or, like Han Solo? Like, there's so much. It just throws.
How was Obi-Wan hiding
wrench.
out on Tatooine? How was Yoda on Dagobah?
Yeah, like
They had this technology post the fall of the Empire. You would assume they must have had it potentially during the Empire.
Like, I
usually
understand it if
technology
it's
does
for-
not advance when a civilization declines. Collapses. Yeah.
Like, I understand for, say, an existing criminal, one that they could put a tag on or something. That makes sense. I can buy that. Like a bill jumper or escaped convict, that kind of makes sense. But for a little baby, or, you know, in the case of Cara Dune, like she says she might have a tracking fob on her. Like, how? Like, how does this thing work? It just seems really convoluted and a crutch to the show in order to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, it's definitely I feel like it's definitely a crutch, and I don't like it at all.
At some point in the third episode, though, the suspension of disbelief is put into play because there's just so much going on the screen. When I watch it, I'm not even thinking about the logic of it. It's only afterward that I'm thinking, wait, that stormtrooper is point blank range with the guy, and he still can't shoot him. But that's kind of keeping in canon with the stormtrooper's shooting ability.
Mm-hmm.
So, shooting with main characters. Remember, if you're a side character, the stormtrooper will take you out.
What does Obi-Wan say? He says
only stormtroopers are so precise.
Yeah.
And up to that point, you would believe them because they took out those rebels in the start of the movie, and then they took out the Jawas. And the next time they hit a main character is in Jedi with Leia, and they can get her in the arm. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of plot armor there. And Leia's the only character that gets shot twice by stormtroopers, once with a stun and once with the Jedi.
And they always shoot him in the shoulder.
Well, that's classic from the old TV serials. You get shot in the shoulder. They even did that in the Shadow movie with Alec Baldwin as well as an homage. They shot him in the shoulders.
But they should have been shooting people in the knees now, because that's what you do in video games now.
There was this scene in Force Awakens where the stormtrooper is point blank with Finn, and he throws his blaster down
and draws that stupid thing.
And I figured out why, because he has no confidence in his shooting ability to shoot Finn point blank. He has to go in and
that's
do
a First Order trooper. That must be different, unless he's parents from stormtroopers. And he's like he inherited the bad aim.
The First Order seemed really concerned with him being a traitor, and it seemed really personal, but it never explained why. It was like, where does all this? I mean, you're putting a lot into something that these kids were stolen from their home and brainwashed. Basically, you're putting a lot on these kids to think that they care about how you feel, that they betrayed you. So,
especially someone who's supposed to be a janitor.
He's a janitor. I'm not even going to talk about how they made a black guy a janitor. That's real good.
Stormtroopers relate more human. Stormtroopers relate more human to Finn's circumstance than Finn does. Like, Finn should be having difficulty trying to shoot his essentially brothers and sisters in white uniforms, and they're the ones that are turning on. Like, you're a traitor. I'm going to kick your ass because you killed our friends when you escaped and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that traitor character more than I can to Finn at this point.
Mm.
And it was just a great idea that was just completely deflated as soon as they escaped from that Star Destroyer.
Yep.
And I'm going to steal it and write it in something on my own original. Like that. That's a good concept. Screw JJ.
When I first saw the character Finn and watched him go through the first movie, I had some good expectations for him with the second one, and then the second one happened, and then even more.
Yeah. The Last Jedi is the Star Wars movie with all the boring parts left in and all the cool stuff taken out.
So do we want to talk a little bit about Chapter 4?
Yeah, sure.
I know we talked about the fobs and how they're freaking horrible, but I thought Chapter. I know I talked with you off channel Script Doctor, but I was not impressed with Chapter 4.
Same here.
I kind of expected it though. After 3, you kind of have to have a little slope and.
You didn't like Gina Carano?
I didn't have a problem with Gina.
I'm down with Gina.
Gina was looking like a snack, dude.
My thing is, I think I I think I mentioned it on
Gotta put
Don's
that on a tweet.
tweet. On Don's tweet, I kind of mentioned it. It's like what got me was the dialogue. It seemed really simplistic. Like I know they're farmers, but they don't sound like farmers from a galaxy this far, far away. They sounded like farmers from Middle America, and it's like the dialogue and the exchange between them was so. I don't know. It didn't seem in place. It seemed really simple. Simplistic is the best way I can describe it.
Early draft dialogue.
It felt awkward to me.
It was flat
with the bartender.
Yeah, that was weird too.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, she did not feel like she fit in that. They didn't establish that tavern enough to justify that type of bartender or that.
That was kind of weird.
It's just coming from 3 and going to 4, it was like wow, you can tell it was directed by someone different than the third one, and this is kind of the points where I started questioning: is it a good idea to have multiple directors if you're going to have the quality, fluctuate this much? And it was a big drop for me. So,
well, I also thought there was a lot of issues with the script too. Obviously you have the fobs. But then you had the whole fight with Cara Dune was I thought completely contrived. Why was this guy literally just told us he didn't want to get into any he wanted to lie low. That's why he was going to this planet. He didn't want to cause a ruckus. And the first thing he does after he arrives at this bar is to go chase down someone who he doesn't even know, and he just has suspicions of. And get in a fight
paranoia. Yeah, it was not a well-established paranoia. No, because I like the idea of having curiosity for it, because you have this one character, you got Cara Dune, who clearly sticks out like a sore thumb in this tavern.
Right.
So I mean that's well established, but it needed more of a build. This should have been an hour-long, maybe 90-minute episode, because it's such a dense story that they're trying to compact in 33, 34 minutes, not including credits.
Agree.
And I mean, I did like that fight a lot because, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, Cara kicked the Mandalorian's ass. But think of it this way. Cara came out of nowhere. She surprised the Mandalorian, which puts him at a disadvantage. And then he recovered and managed to get up to a stalemate. That's really hard to do in a fight. And I've done street fighting in high school when I was young and stupid. And if a guy gets a jump on you, you're pretty much out. So,
I didn't have any issues with the fight. I thought the fight was fine.
Yeah, I love the fight. I saw on Twitter and a couple of Instagram posts where people were Cara Dune just whooped his ass. I'm he managed to pull out a stalemate at a disadvantaged position. That's not an ass whooping. That's a miracle.
With a bucket on his head. You ever try to fight with a bucket on your head?
I know.
There's that too. He can't look up in that mask. I mean, I've worn prop Star Wars Mandalorian helmets from Lucasfilm. You can't lift your head up at all.
Unless he has a full display going on inside, and he's got
a HUD. Yeah,
he doesn't though. We saw it. They've shown us.
Yeah,
didn't he have that predator scene going on?
Yeah, that's how he tracks her.
Yeah, but it didn't look like he was looking through slits though. From what I could
may have a full field of vision with regards to how our eyes work, but I don't know. Well, again, when I look through those helmets, you don't really look through slits in them either. You have a pretty good field of vision because it's only an inch and a quarter away from your eyeball.
He still can't see a hook coming with a slit that close to your face.
No, you can't.
It's a bucket. Come on.
It is a bucket, but your field of vision is only limited to the bottom half, the top half, left and right. You're pretty damn good. But yeah, that fight I thought was pretty cool. I liked how it led to a camaraderie between the warriors. It's two kids fought and now they're reconciling and they're going to go their separate ways.
But she didn't join this party, so this is kind of messing up our RPG.
It did.
She's the new companion.
It was he met the person. He has to still recruit her.
Yeah.
He's got to put in some time. What's that?
The IG-11?
Yeah, is he coming back? Because he's on all the
Haven't seen him yet.
Any of these things are coming back.
Marketing, it's on the posters and all. He's in the background. I was like, oh, we're gonna see him again, right? Because I like the robot. I thought it was dope.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like Gina. I hope she's back.
I do like Gina too.
I like her too. I've been watching Gina for years.
Anyone that retweets me, I like.
I will say the one thing that I did have an issue with the fight was that, and this is I'm being super nitpicky here.
Punching the wood wall and not hurt and being hurt, but not the Beskar.
That too. I know you. I'll give you that one. But when he turns his flamethrower on, he tries to turn it on before he's like facing her,
Yeah,
which I
that
thought
was
was
weird.
weird. I was like, dude, you want to use it to surprise her, not so she knows that it's coming and she can defend against it.
Well, he's
He's
only
been
used
having
that weapon
troubles
once
with his
successfully out of the whole series. So
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he failed trying to use it against those. What were
blurred.
they called? The blurgs.
He
Yeah.
just wrecked a stormtrooper with it. That was it.
And he couldn't fight off that crowd all the way with the flamethrower because it just starts malfunctioning on him.
Yeah.
It's upgrade time.
Yeah.
But I think you hit on this earlier, Script Doctors. The episode, and I think this is something that we've seen through all of these episodes. They're too short. I think they were actually probably written for an hour-long episodes, and they cut them. That's how it feels like to me. You might have a little bit more experience with that.
It's hard to recognize, especially with like an original type of show of this caliber. But yeah, it feels like there are scenes missing sometimes, especially with this chapter 4 episode. And yeah,
the romance wasn't really built up. I felt like a lot of that was missing.
The romance had no inciting incident. There has to be an inciting incident for romance. Like he just comes into town and she's like ready to let's put out, and I'm thinking, damn, I need to get myself some Beskar armor. But
yeah, I know, right, dude?
It's the bucket.
The bucket.
It is, man.
But
Mixing mysterious.
there was lots of opportunities there for them to do something. Like they could have had like some conflict. It was just her curiosity to him just kind of be like, yeah, I guess I'll play along. And
I'm telling you, dude, you do a cosplay in armor, that's a booty ticket.
I do have 3 Mandalorian helmets that were gifted to me, but they're not painted, so I don't know what to do with them.
But you have to be at least as attractive as the guy playing the Mando, because he is an attractive man. So
Pedro Pascal, he is Latin Nathan Fillion. He's good. I like him. A lot.
He's been putting on the pounds though. He needs to get back into that Game of Thrones
that
training.
golden circle weight that he had in Kingsman.
So one of the big issues that I had with the so this is kind of a trend for me, is that not only he said that he wants to lie low, but then he wants to lie low, and then he's going to take on a job where he has to defend a village. That's not really lying low either. And the only reason why he seems to take the job is because they say that the village is in the middle of nowhere. But even if it's in the middle of nowhere, he's still like defending a village against raiders.
It's going to attract attention, I think.
Yeah.
I think he kind of reluctantly acquiesced to the request.
I don't know. As soon as they say it's in the middle of nowhere, he's like,
he's interested.
You have lodging or whatever, and he's pretty much like on board with going there.
Yeah,
because that was hard to grasp. Because I don't know if he was doing it mostly for himself or he was doing it just to help out Kara after their little fight, because she wasn't sleeping anywhere. She was in the forest.
Yeah,
right.
He's like,
maybe I'll do this
by the hour.
Yeah, like maybe I'll do this job, but I'll bring her along so at least I can get out, and then they'll still have someone to protect after. I mean, that's what it should have been. That's what I would have like put into a narrative if I was given the script to do a touch up on. And then on top of that, it was just, I mean, I liked how the Kara and Mandalorian relationship was going, because we got to see the scout out ahead, and you got to see their knowledge trade back and forth a little bit. It was brief as hell, but it was at least there. I mean, it's just like, oh, we got a walker. It's like, oh yeah, something cleared this out, and no, this is what's going on. And I'm like, yeah.
That part was good.
That part.
But then when they
the stuff around it is not that great.
And the whole like point of them trying to take out the walker didn't make any that was just
that was a horrible plan. I don't know what
it was. A horrible plan
that'd never work in a morp.
Yeah, it was an absolute horrible plan. They knew that there was a walker there. Why wouldn't you just try and go and sabotage it?
No, technically that was a boss fight.
It was.
Oh, yeah. But when you get close to it, it's not going to step forward. It's just going to stay where it is.
The shot of it coming through the forest was freaking cool, though, with the red eyes and everything. I thought that was really cool. But
that was practical, wasn't it?
You know where they messed up though? Somebody didn't use their AoE.
Well, the boss didn't use his AoE. He just stood there, fired like one blast, didn't hit any. Like it turned the light on.
There was a stormtrooper in there, so of course it didn't hit
the light on.
There wasn't anyone in that bot.
No, there was. You pointed that out to me on Twitter, Script Doctor, and I looked, again, and there's no one in the ATST.
Yeah, I thought I saw someone like in the corner of its eye at one point, but that's just a hinge. Like,
Yeah, it's
there's
the
nothing
eye
in there.
falling down after she shoots it with the rifle.
And even
I'll
before
photosh-
that, it's got like on the inside, like where the nose would be. There's like this little like bulge that comes out, but that's just a hinge for the hatch of the eyes. And because I studied that thing for like 20, 30 minutes, because I'm like, there's got to be someone piloting this thing. I'm used to pilots seeing pilots in this thing.
It does make
And
sense.
nope,
as a droid,
it was
though,
like
right?
completely automated.
It
And
also
behave
seems like
like
it's
an
a
automated.
busted. It also seems like it was a busted ATST. Why does it have those open eye slits?
Yeah, it doesn't need them. They're not
I don't-
functional for non-pilots.
There weren't ATST. There weren't. I don't remember the eye slits in Return of the Jedi. I thought those were covered. They were shielded.
They were mostly lowered to like a smaller point, yeah. But like the only time I think we ever really got a clear look at them is when Chewie and the Ewoks jump inside from the and the inside out. We're looking out and we can see what
That
the
there's a
pilots see. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's not open, so that was weird too.
Yep.
So they have like a cheap knockoff version of an ATST
repurposed ATST.
post Empire. One of the other scenes that really kind of irked me was it was right after this like romance scene. She was talking about his like keeping the helmet on, keeping the suit on, and everything. And she brought him food, and he says like, "I don't take it off in front of anyone." And then after she leaves the room, the window is still open.
The window's
and then,
open.
and he presumes
Yeah.
he then takes his helmet off. And I'm just like, come on, you just told us how he doesn't
I don't
take this
take
stuff
it
off
off
in
for
front of
anyone.
anyone. And he's
But I'll
taking it
take
off
it
in
off.
front of all these little kids that could just look over and see him.
I'll take it
Yeah.
off for food, though.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that was added in by production, not in the script, because the dialogue exchange between that, how he doesn't say when I was a kid, he's like when I was about their age. Like when he
Right.
points it off, like he does. There's some good subtext and not directness to it, which I thought was kind of neat. But then the physical action, the blocking of the scene afterwards, where it's like I'm just gonna sit by this giant open window and take off the helmet and eat while watching the kids play. It's like they're gonna see you.
Yeah.
Like I've been on both sides of that situation. You do see the guy.
Yeah.
Um,
He should have just closed the window.
or at
and
least
then
moved
taking it
out
off
of the
or something.
view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. It's just
Or
that,
been-
that was just like a simple mistake, but it was a huge one.
Or establish that he's still in like dark shadow and you couldn't see in or something like that.
Right.
But no,
Um,
they didn't do that part.
Yeah. And I like, so we talked about the plan a little bit, and then they charge. So she gets the rifle and then charges the boss in order to try and get it to move forward. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you usually run away for that to happen.
Yeah, you retreat to get them to follow you. That was what they did before to get it to the village. They stirred up a ruckus and then retreated, and then they decided like, oh, we're not going to retreat anymore. We're going to attack. I don't know. That just seemed weird to me too.
Yeah, and I made a statement because I saw Gary make this one statement. I saw it on Twitter. I saw it on Facebook. It's like the Mandalorian wouldn't hand over his weapon to Kara, and I'm like, no, he would. And by that point, they've got some. They're working together to accomplish a goal, and like it's not like he said he offered to cover her, and she asked for the weapon. It's not like she took it from him and said I'm a better shot at it than you or anything like that. There's no wokeness there. It was basically like these two are gonna have a common goal. They've got an obstacle. The thing's not coming forward. She's like, I've got a plan. I'm going to need your weapon. He's like, okay, I'll cover you. And then they do it. It's a dumb plan. Like that's,
Yeah.
but like up to that point, I'm kind of on board with it because it's not making the Mandalorian any less in a defensive position. So it's all about the attack.
Well,
Yeah, I guess they're talking about him saying that his weapons are his religion. Well, he gave them up to the Jawas, so
Well, he
I
put
don't know.
them
He doesn't
down.
really follow it.
Yeah,
He didn't really. They stole his weapons mostly, and he put them down.
I'll give him a little pass on it only because he never did the raid before, and he was a bad raid leader. So
He
Yeah,
didn't
he's
have
more
a
of a
guy telling
stealth
him
guy.
to put more dots on the boss.
yeah,
More dots, more dots, more dots.
Yeah, and not only that, like the principle of a religion is to spread the word. So if anything, and also he handed off his weapons to all those villagers. Like those are all his weapons that he
Yeah.
unpacked and
Yeah,
gave them. So that's not a contradiction of character. And I mean, that's just someone kind of reaching because maybe they just got a little bit too ingrained with seeing wokeness everywhere because it is almost everywhere. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of a misstep from those people on the internet saying that stuff. I think it's just like, oh, it's this type of scene again because we saw the ex-wife. She knows how to shoot, but she's not better than the Mandalorian at shooting. She's not better than Kara at shooting. She's just better than the idiots in her home village at shooting.
Yeah,
I
she
have
raised her
a-
hand. I thought that was well.
There's
I
good
actually thought that was
stormtroopers.
well done.
Yeah, and
They
she
asked
also
her to
wasn't
shoot,
confident
she raised
about
her
it.
hand.
Yeah, she wasn't even
Yeah.
confident about it, and she was
Yeah.
like kind of uncomfortable after she realized, oh, I'm the only one that knows how to do this.
I have
Right, she's a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a wild theory about how this is all going to turn out eventually.
Fire away.
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, so you guys remember that key thing that was said when he went to the armor smith and she said, you don't have a signet yet, and he basically said no. It leads me to believe that Cara Dune and the rest of this crew that he's eventually going to meet, like when he assembles his party fully, I got a feeling that this is going to turn into his own makeshift clan, and somehow, some way, like the ranking Mandalorian, which in this case, obviously, everybody sort of looks up to the armor smith for whatever reason, is going to christen them their own clan.
The Baby Yoda clan.
Yeah,
I think that's possible.
Yeah.
They did reveal in this episode that he's not actually a
he's not a
ethnic
Mandalorian.
He's not a blood Mandalorian.
Yeah.
right.
He's
Which
a
is-
cultural Mandalorian.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, which is why it leads me to it lends some credence to that theory because of the no signet, the fact that he's not a bloodborne Mandalorian.
There's not many of those, anyways. I think in this current lore, right?
That's what it seems like. That's what they're saying.
The heavy armor guy is.
I mean,
Yeah.
there were still quite a bit of Mandalorians in Rebels.
There's like a planet of them.
Yeah, and what's her name doesn't take it. So that's also something that bothers me. What's her name has her helmet off all the time.
Yeah,
There's
Sabine.
Sabine, and there's nothing wrong with that. So like is this some kind of like different Mandalorian tribe that has different belief system?
If it's a religion, or there's going to be slightly different, different
sect.
ones. Yeah, different sects
Right.
going on. So this might be in this house. That's probably how it is. But to be honest, from a real world standpoint, you don't cast someone like this to play this part if his face is going to be covered all the time. Eventually, and they made a big deal about. They brought up the helmet, and they made a big deal about it. At some point, he's going to lose the helmet. It's going to come off for some reason or whatever, or he's going to take it off, and then he's probably not going to put it back on. At least not as a full fledged. That's what I'm thinking. At a full fledged Mandalorian anymore, I think he's going to give it up to a certain extent at some point. Because I think they made too much of a big deal about it in this episode. It's going to come back, and we're going to revisit it again. He's going to make a decision to either keep to keep the helmet on or take it off, and it's going to be.
He already made that decision.
Well, no. In public, I mean, in public, because you're going to see this guy. We're going to see
He was
this guy
trying to take it off.
and he stopped doing it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, Phil. I think Phil's got on track. I think if he's not going to take it off, he's at least going to have the helmet's damaged, and he's going to see the eye and the nose or some sort of thing on the inside peek through. But you did bring up one actually cool story idea that they didn't get any chance to play through, which is a place that tempted the Mandalorian to give up his quest. Mm-hmm. Like that's a cool choice to present to your main character. It's kind of like the refusal of the call, but it's a mid-act turning point thing where they have to make a choice. Do they double back and run away from their failure, or do they push forward and try and succeed? The only thing that's missing is Mandalorian doesn't have a plan for what he's going to do next.
Well, he doesn't have a quest.
His quest is to run. Like that's
yeah, right. I guess yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of it's
it's
partially,
he can't really run though because they have these like
fobs. Yeah,
find you fobs. He's got to fight. He's got to take the fight to.
He has to take the fight to them, but he hasn't.
Chapter 7, he's gonna. Yeah. We got a brief synopsis with Chapter 7, which is going to be on Wednesday before Rise of Skywalker comes out. That will be. They said that he will be meeting a longtime foe that can offer him or not, maybe not a foe, might not be the right word, but a nemesis maybe that will offer him a potential peace. time, and
what he
that
did,
person is going to be Giancarlo Esposito's Moff Gideon.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
because
from
like he
Disney.
hasn't come to that conclusion yet that he's got to kind of end this at the source. Because right now he's like, oh, we're just gonna lay low, run away, and it's kind of a passive active goal, which is
That also doesn't make sense though, because he knows how those things work.
he should know how those things work.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing,
He should know what they know how they work, even though we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know my theory is kind of out there, but I feel like my theory has some merit to it, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think how this is going to relate to the Rise of Skywalker is with regards to the Sith troopers. Like, how do you have all those Force-sensitive Sith troopers in there? Well, you harvest the midichlorians off the baby Yoda, you inject them into the guys, they have minor Force powers for a short period, and there you go. That's your Sith trooper en masse. That's my suspicion. It could be it. I mean, it just seems the easiest one that not only relates to the prequel trilogy, to The Mandalorian, to this Disney trilogy. It kind of works out because that's the idea I would have raised to George Lucas if he ever said, hey, I've got these midichlorians that mean the Force. I'm like, oh, great. So the Force can be artificially infused into other people by a blood transfusion or something. And then he would probably think, yeah, no, I'm going to cut that idea out. And that would have saved us everything. But unfortunately, I was only 13 at the time and didn't know him.
Man.
Well, and Favreau did confirm that the show will lead into the First Order.
Yeah, it'll do something with the First Order and the films, yeah.
So Favreau in the Clone Wars, he voiced which Vizsla?
Pre-Vizsla?
Pre-Vizsla.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the only one, right?
So heavy infantry
that's the main one.
in The Mandalorian is Paz Vizsla.
Yeah. Same family line.
Same family line. So what happened in that family line where they're no longer allowed to take off their helmet?
Probably that. Yeah, like that's messed up because I don't see it as a byproduct of the Great Purge because that's technically already happened before Rebels.
Mm.
And he was part of he was part of Death Watch. He was like a militant Mandalorian.
I was reminded of Tank from Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future with that one guy though, with Paz Vizsla. If you remember that old show. I'm surprised that's not going to get a revival. Maybe.
But yeah, they got to explain
everything does. Yeah, I think. I mean, there's definitely a lot of questions that they still they've opened up, and it seems like we only get like history of the Mandalorian people when he's like visiting the armorer, or the armorsmith, or whatever her title is. Although we did get a little bit about it in this chapter 4, where he talks about that he's not a real Mandalorian,
Well, the Mandalorians appear to be like functions similar to the Jedi. Like they take others in, they train them as exceptionally well as they can, and they just go about their business.
Well,
I think that's something from what I understand. That's something from the EU. Because that's not.
I think that's from like next gen EU. Because
that's not
my
in
old
canon.
EU days were like the Mandalorians were extinct. Like nobody could find them or see them, and if you found some of their armor, you were considered like the wealthiest person in the galaxy. Like that's from my old days, way before the prequels, like between 88 and 94. That was because there's a lot of books out, but not a whole lot of them really explored Mandalorians at that time, if I recall correctly. But they were mythic.
All I'm saying is that theory I threw out there, if that turns out to be right, man, you guys can just remember this moment, and then like if it comes,
I'm sure you'll remind us.
Cut the time code, make it viral.
You'd be like, "Damn, that was good theory, Drew."
This is how we're blowing up.
Yep,
Drew's theory.
Founding hitting 50,000 from that.
Yeah. So let's keep with Star Wars. So we got this like Q&A, which I think was on Monday. Might have been yesterday. I can't remember. It's bleeding together. But at the last question of this Rise of Skywalker Q&A, the host she does the Star Wars podcast or whatever, and she says, give us your facial reaction of how you view the ending of the film. And you can't like use any words. And it was very Game of Thrones season 8 reactions. You had Daisy Ridley was
pretty good.
in utter cringe. Kelly Marie Tran looks like she was absolutely horrified.
J.J. Abrams was giving the journalist the finger.
Was he?
Yeah, he's flipping her off. Like
I didn't see
JJ has
that.
this thing where he raises his middle finger to make it more prominently, and he raises his index finger just a little bit to make it not look like he's flipping you off, but he's flipping you off.
He looked like he was like looking around to see what everyone else was. I thought he was looking around to see what everyone else was reacting.
Well, yeah, because he hadn't shown them the movie yet.
Well, I don't know. Anthony Daniels was the only one who said like he didn't know.
Yeah, he's like, how did that end? I waited 40 years for this. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what
but
he said.
everyone else like gave facial reactions, and they were like either in like utter disgust, cringe. Naomi Aki looked like she was kind of like throwing up. It was, I don't know, it was weird what she was doing.
I think that's the reaction is because of like we haven't seen it yet, so we just gotta make a face.
I mean,
because I don't think they've seen it yet. They only finished shooting this past Sunday, and I did get one word from my cousin through marriage. He said that he got to speak for like 10 minutes publicly to talk to my aunt and uncle and the rest of us. He's like, "Yeah, I'm working on that movie. It's a nightmare. I can't say anymore. Bye bye." And it's like, oh, so yeah, like they have a lot of production house. Disney has purchased a lot of production houses right now to try and get this thing ready in the next, I guess, week and a bit, because they have to start shipping out physical prints and then moving out over their digital stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Really soon.
Yeah, and it was. I don't know. It was just like because you had like Boyega and Oscar Isaac were giving like. I mean, Boyega just kind of gave like a straight face and like and he like looked down.
He's looking down. Yeah.
And he put his hand like up on his face like this kind of, I guess,
like,
and he like
go
looks
watch him tackle
down.
block.
Yeah, and then
Like, I should have had a better role.
Oscar Isaac was kind of like almost. I don't know what would you describe his look, Phil?
Dour.
Yeah, dour.
Yeah, Dapper is good.
It just. I mean, they all just didn't. It didn't look good. There was like not. There was not like, oh man, I gotta go see this. Like compare that to what Pedro Pascal did. Even though I think he was like completely overacting it when he like did this like bit where he was watching the Mandalorian trailer, but he was like super excited and very animated, and it made you like, oh, look, this actually like looks like it's gonna be good.
He's probably still in acting Mandalorian mode because he's probably really big under that helmet.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it was night and day though. If you look at those two different reactions, and I was just like, this is just Marks, and no one had an excited look. No one at all, and it was just like, that's not good at all.
And one sad fact is that actors wouldn't know great quality if it bit them in the ass because they're so desperate for work. Only like your veteran actors will, like Jack Nicholson, James Woods, those guys. They know what's a good script because they've been around long enough to read enough of crap to know what's good. But these are young kids.
Boyega already knows it's trash.
And if they know can recognize it's not good, trash, or confusing at this stage in their career, that's bad. Like that's what made me really worried when they saw the great Game of Thrones reactions, because I was like, oh, I'm all set to binge it for December. Like this was the month I was going to binge Game of Thrones from season 1 to 8 because I hadn't seen it yet. And then in that spring that early of the year where they start doing the announcements, I'm like, oh, that's a big warning sign. I am not going to jump into this yet.
Kit Harington said he described it as like disappointing. Yeah. Before he had to like catch himself, and then it was like epic. One of those two.
Disappointingly epic.
Like, what?
Really bad.
It's depic.
And then Amelia Clark didn't even like respond, and she had to be prompted by an interviewer to respond, and then she was like, "It's the best season ever," or whatever, and like super sarcastic, and just like laughed it off, and it's just like, oh, this is not good. And this gave the same vibes that you saw from that too. I mean, and I think Drew, you're saying Boyega he does know. I mean, he's talking about like. I mean,
he's hinted to like the fact that just some of the general tone and stuff in his tweets, man. You can see that he's kind of like trying to, in a subtle way, let the fans know, oh man, this is gonna suck, guys.
Emulate Mark Hamill's Last Jedi stuff.
Can't do that.
Yeah,
yet.
I was watching some of his stuff. Just the undertone. Oh,
Have you seen that super clip of Hamill just like eviscerating Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like someone has like I think Film Gob might have done it. They have like a super clip of Hamill just like taking the Last Jedi to the woodshed in like multiple interviews.
have you guys seen the Sith dagger?
Yeah.
I saw that image. Is
with the
that
protractor?
legit? Is that
Ah.
legit?
Yeah, that's from the trailer.
This is what I've got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
This
it. That's
is
legit.
That's
The
legit.
Sith dagger.
It is a protractor. I see that now.
Do.
I did not know. I wasn't sure if that was legit or not.
Their props department needs to be fired.
Well, they have the two bow and the arrow that the bow and arrow that Jana uses is just two of them glued together.
Just two toy bow and arrows glued together.
No, they're like legit compound bows, but they just stuck them together.
Oh
Wow.
God, that sounds like a rushed thing.
Yeah,
This whole thing was a rush thing.
They have horses.
Technically, it
space
was.
horses.
I mean, I know with all the rumors of the reshoots and stuff, but the only thing I've heard from the one source that I have, which is a family relative working on it, he's like, yeah, they've shot 2 complete movies. Like that's what he says with the amount of footage they've had, and on average with a footage of this style, they usually range between 60 to 70 hours of footage that they have to sort through to make like a 2-hour, 3-hour film. And he's like, yeah, it's like double that.
Ouch.
Wow.
And some of it is a lot of
Holy
repeat shots,
crap.
repeat scenes, and everything. But like he says, it's double. It's a lot. And
That kind of goes with what Doomcock's rumors have been telling him.
yeah,
so
I just
it's-
don't know what the content, how different the content is. He won't tell me that. I mean, not until I guess after it's released, where he's going to give me a flood of information. But he's going to be the only one because I don't know any of his coworkers, and I don't think they'll want to talk to me about that stuff. Because
Right.
I mean, a cousin doesn't yet know that I have a YouTube channel, and I'm kind of keeping that close to the chest. For him.
All right, what's next on the docket there, John?
That's hilarious.
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
we're moving on, huh?
kind of having fun stepping on Star Wars.
We can
It's
stay
so
with Star
rare.
Wars. We got the Billy D. Williams quote. You want to talk about that?
Oh, the how he's gender fluid, both
Oh,
feminine and masculine.
What the heck did that mean?
I don't know.
It was really weird because he doesn't actually use gender fluid. He just says he uses
Himself and herself.
herself. But then
Yeah.
he the way he explains it is that he's talking about that he has like feminine and masculine traits, which
Technically,
feminine
we all
traits is
do in
usually
some
like-
regard.
yeah. So I don't. Everyone was running with like gender fluid, and the only person who uses gender fluid is the writer of the article. And I
But I
thought it
thought
was just
gender
being
was just
blown
a
out.
construct.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I just thought it was being blown out of proportion by most of the media because he never actually says that he's gender fluid. In fact,
Yeah,
if
I've
you go
only
on his
read this
Instagram, he's always he's like literally talking about he refers to himself as a man.
This is Billy D. Williams. This man.
yeah, because
bathed
I've
in
only
men.
read the reports. I haven't heard any actual quote on any of the stuff. So
I'm back.
Yeah, here I can bring it up.
sure.
I'm adding my eyelashes at USD. Did you wear your cute outfit today?
So to provide some context, the guy's asking him about Donald Glover's talking about how Lando the interviewer refers to Donald Glover's take on Lando as gender
Pansexual.
fluid, which is not true. He's pansexual, which is not
Which is
gender
also
fluid.
technically not true.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
exactly.
Fake
Although they
news.
do have that dialogue with the robot.
John Kasdan said, "I guess" to that response.
Yeah,
Um,
man, you can't ever tell me that Lando was not a straight Colt 45 drinking G.
Hey,
Billy
like
D.
after this thing, I'll throw a link into the chat to an indie film about Lando Calrissian that's absolutely brilliant. So I recommend everybody watch it out. It was made like many years ago.
Billy D got misgendered, says
Cool.
Mark.
I definitely
45.
agree with that. So this Esquire writer Matt Miller
Oh,
says he writes, when I point out that Donald Glover talked about that type of gender fluidity when playing a young Lando in 2018 Solo, Williams lights up. But he says Williams just responds saying, "Really, that kid is brilliant. Just look at those videos." And he's talking about his music videos because he's got that alternate personality, which I'm totally blanking on right now. Childish Gambino, right?
Childish Gambino.
Yeah. And so, and that he's just talking about Lando being pansexual, and it was like this one interview on this Sirius XM. And he was with him. I think he was with Emilia Clarke because it was a solo thing. and Glover said, "Yeah, how can you not be pansexual in space? There are so many things to have sex with." I'm serious. I didn't think that was that weird. He's coming on to everybody. And he added, "It didn't seem that weird to me. If you're in space, the door is open. It's not like he's just like only guys or girls. No, it's anything. Hey. This thing is literally a blob. Are you a man or a woman? Who cares?"
He ignored 3PO in Empire.
Oh, what's that?
He ignored 3PO when he first met him in Empire, and if he liked droids before, that was kind of weird because he went straight for Leia.
if you, he totally went straight for Leia. If you actually watch that interview, focusing on Emilia Clarke's reaction, it's quite telling what she thinks about Lando being pansexual. But anyway, so Billy D actually says here. So he describes himself as himself or herself in the interview, and then he says, "I never try to be anything except myself. I think of myself as a relatively colorful character who doesn't take himself or herself too seriously." And then he would explain, "And you see, I say himself and herself because I also see myself as feminine as well as masculine. I'm a very soft person. I'm not afraid to show that side of myself." He's not talking about describing himself as a female.
Yeah, that's
he's in touch with his,
clearly taken out of context
with his feelings. What he's saying, yeah, that's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Yeah.
He's been married 3 times. He has a son.
He only has one son. I don't believe that. This dude bathed in panties in the 80s, man. I don't believe that.
Yeah, 80s, like the 70s too, guys.
70s, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, sorry, there were no panties.
That's right.
That's the 60s.
His son looked almost like exactly like him. And he was actually in Star Wars too. He was his double in Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
And I mean, he like on Father's Day, he's wishing his dad Happy Father's Day. I mean, he's wishing his mom Happy Mother's Day. And, I mean, it's just like you just go on his like Instagram, and
he's a sweet guy.
He's really nice.
And he should have been Harvey Dent Two-Face in Batman Forever.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been. I would have loved to have seen his take on that.
Yeah. One kid that he knows of, says Stephen Ernst.
Or one kid that he recognizes at least.
Man, let's go get a 40.
I'm going to put in the chat like a better version of what Solo should have been. Go check it out. It's 15 minutes after the stream. It's a great little short video. Really captures what Star Wars is, plus the time that Star Wars came out. So I'm going to punch that right there.
What Solo should have been is never made.
Is that on your YouTube channel?
No, it's general on YouTube. I didn't make it.
Okay.
I found it before I even started my YouTube channel because every once in a while someone will be like, "Hey, this Star Wars fan film or this fan film came up and it's really cool." And then I saw this one. I immediately favorited it because it was brilliant. And it's what Solo should have been. There shouldn't have been a Solo movie. It should have just been called Lando, and then you have a little bit of Han Solo cameo in it because that would have done gangbusters.
Yep.
And these guys did this project that has a lot of passion, and it really captures like 70s blaxploitation film with Star Wars, and it works. So check it out. I don't know anyone on this production or anything like that.
Wait, what was it?
It's called Black Star Warrior. It's really funny.
Okay. Because I was gonna say there's a YouTube video I used to watch all the time. I don't think it's probably up anymore, but it was called the Vader Sessions. That's freaking great.
I remember Chad Vader way, way, way back in the day.
Oh, well, that was good too. But the Vader Sessions is really good. I mean, you'll laugh your behind off at that.
I should check that out because my day job right now that I'm up here in Canada, I got a lot of downtime, so I jump on YouTube and listen to stuff while I'm doing my reading and edits of other people's work. So
I need to get some of that downtime. All right.
yeah, the only thing that sucks is I have to be in an office to do it. I can't do it from home. We got to call you in for this thing and spelling mistakes here. I'm like, okay.
All right. So, did you guys want to talk a little bit of the X-Men? We usually do.
Well,
No.
Philip hasn't even read the.
I haven't got any. I didn't get to go into anything today.
So we can't talk about those new characters.
It was bad. I tried. I couldn't get to the store. It was bad.
All right. Well,
Failed.
let's see. What else do we have that we want to talk about here?
Oh, you know what? I can talk about something. So, last page, you got all these X-Men titles coming out, and they are coming out 3 at a time now.
Yeah, how many do we have?
Woo.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
I don't
9,
know if you can
10.
see that.
Hold on.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, between the
3 titles. 3 titles.
That's just the ones that are
3
out right
titles
now.
a week.
There are 10 between now and February. There are going to be 10 titles out. 10.
Dude, that's like flooding it more than DC did with their twice a month.
Wow.
Like I haven't
know
seen
what?
this many X-Men since like mid 90s, early 90s.
They're milking that, aren't they?
Dude, there's 5 titles coming out on the 18th. I don't have enough money.
What do you mean, December 18th?
Yeah, December 18th. They're just going to push all 5 titles out right before
That's
Christmas.
Right.
Wow.
That's, I guess. I mean, I think I wrote an article about this. About does Marvel even deserve our fandom?
Yeah,
after
you
what
did.
they did to the X-Men, it's like they're really pushing it. They're pushing it so hard. They're like, do they deserve our money at this point? They tried to replace them with the Inhumans for like 2 years, and then after it didn't happen. Like I was there. I know what you did.
Well, they retconned it with Powers of X and House of X. Kinda.
It was just. It's like I don't know what. It's like all they had to do was put out some quality X-Men books. But now instead of concentrating their efforts, they're just like flooding the market. I'm not quite sure what it's going to. And why do we need Wolverine's going to be in 4 of these issues? They have Psylocke in 3 of these books. It's like, what the hell's going on now?
Psylocke, Betsy Braddock. Yeah.
I don't know this one. Okay, no, okay. I gotta be more specific.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, Quanon will be in
Quanon.
2 before the end of before end of February.
Betsy's Captain Britain now, right?
Yeah, she's already in 2 already. So, well, she's guest starring in 1, but she's only in 1 right now, and that one sucks. So
Yeah.
Excalibur's horrible.
I mean, I will say that at least, I mean, it seems those books seem to be selling well, so at least they're trying to capitalize on something that was doing well.
While it lasts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's this equation of like, if you're putting out quality over quantity, people will buy more of the quality. And right now, it just seems like they're now pushing for the quantity.
You want to put what's in the bad stack and what's in the good stack. Right now, for me, it's X-Force, Fallen Angels, New Mutants is decent enough. I think it's funny enough. It's not taking itself very seriously at all.
Right.
And X-Men is keeping my attention, but it's kind of hard to figure out what's really going on. But it's keeping my attention. Excalibur, I'm a huge
X-Men's the one with the menage a trois, right?
Yeah, I'm still holding on to see what the hell's going on.
That's the Summers house.
Yeah, the Summers house.
The Summers orgy.
Oh God.
But Excalibur, I'm a huge Gambit and Rogue fan, but I can't stand that book right now. Marauders is not a bad book. I just don't care about Kitty Pryde, so it's hard for me to keep my attention. And there's another bad one, isn't there? I think that's the only
Yeah, the 2 that I'm kind of
Those
clocked
2,
out on are Excalibur and Marauders.
Yeah, the same.
The other 3 are barely there, and then X-Force and maybe X-Men kind of keeping me afloat.
You're not feeling Fallen Angels? I like the first issue.
I wasn't into the second issue, and I'm about to dive into Yeah. Yeah.
I got halfway through the second issue and I got distracted at work, so I got to finish it. It's kind of all over the place, but I kind of trust the writer more than anything else. Brian Edwards, I like it the way I like his style of writing, so I'm giving it a chance more than I think I should. But and to be honest, the artwork
Which one
is
is he
kind
writing?
of Fallen Angels.
Fallen Angels. Okay.
The
Brian Edward Hill.
The artwork isn't great, and I think that's distracting me more than
Yeah.
anything else. But I like the first issue went down. The conversation that Quanon had with Magneto, and then when she had it with Sinister, that made me for the entire book. Those two conversations were great. Sinister wasn't jokey; he was serious. He was kind of scary, and that's the kind of Sinister I like.
Yeah.
What you say?
No, because the second book, I felt like kind of did a recycle repeat of that first book.
Okay.
Like go to Sinister, go to Apocalypse, find out what's going on, and then do the mission thing. And then it just felt like this rinse, recycle, repeat kind of thing. And it just didn't work for me the second time.
Okay. If I get through it at work tomorrow, hopefully I can do that. I'll give it another. See, I'll hit you up. See what we talk about it.
The artwork that Don showed. What was the book that you had earlier? Which one was that?
Oh, that was X-Men. That was the X-Men title.
That looked like X-Men. I know the art style.
That art looked. What did you say, Phil?
I know the art style. One thing about the books. They all have each book has a very distinct art style. You can tell what book is what by looking at how it's being drawn.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Quick quiz for everybody. Who drew this cover?
Hold on.
It looks like Alex Ross, but
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're all nerds. Congratulations.
And I guess that's more painted, right?
I thought the inside of the artwork looked pretty good when you're showing it to us before Phil got on here.
Yeah. But yeah, it's okay. So you're talking about Summers. You're talking about Billy D. Williams getting serious panties. Scott Summers.
Oh, he's a man whore. I've wrote about him too.
Oh my gosh.
I've written about Scott too, about his inability to commit to one woman at any given time.
Yeah, I think he's on the list of the
most promiscuous. Yeah,
10 most promiscuous.
He's top 5. That dude's all over the place, man. He gets way too much credit for being a Boy Scout.
Well, he's been with like Dazzler, Jean Grey. Who else?
Jean Grey's clone.
Emma.
Jean Grey's clone. Emma Frost.
Emma, while he was with Jean Grey. Frenzy.
Psylocke.
Oh yeah, Psylocke.
Psylocke. I forgot about that.
And Betsy.
Psylocke and
two personalities in one.
Yeah.
Kitty Pryde. Is he with Kitty? No, that was Star-Lord, right?
No. Star-Lord was with Kitty Pryde. Yeah. So
they imply in this book, more than imply, that he's also having a relationship with Emma Frost while being with Jean Grey in this three-way with Wolverine.
Yeah.
And then in the other book, they also implied that he's having something going on with Polaris, which is Havoc's old flame.
What the hell, man? Is this like polyamory X-Men edition?
Well, also, who would go with Wolverine? Does he not shower? I thought he didn't shower.
That's the whole point. That's his thing. Dirty,
Yeah, he's dirty. He's filthy. He smells terrible. I'm pretty sure.
I relate to Wolf.
But he's ripped. He's a little 5'5" ripped guy.
Yeah, but he's short. Like every woman has to look down on him.
That's why Danny DeVito needs to be Wolverine.
Agreed.
No.
He's already got a raspy voice for it.
Super old man Logan.
Super old.
He tells good jokes.
The Penguin's going to be low. No.
So I wanted to touch on this story. We got this up just before we went live. Jorge wrote it. And this is from an interview that Alex Kurtzman did with Vanity Fair. And he's talking about Star Trek Discovery and what his conditions were in order to come back and do Star Trek. And he basically says that one of his conditions was that he would not have a male captain. So he was asked by Vanity Fair's Joy Press, Star Trek Discovery stars a number of women of color. Can you tell me about the conversation behind that? And then Kurtzman responds saying, about 3 years ago when CBS asked me to consider doing another Star Trek, my first instinct was it's got to be a woman and it's got to be a woman of color. I'm not interested in having another male captain.
They know they've had a female captain before, right? He's not the first one. I mean,
Yeah.
Also,
he's
didn't he
not
have two
breaking-
male captains in season 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Captain Janeway would like a word.
it's like he's not breaking ground
Captain
here.
Rachel Garrett would also like a word too. Maybe
Yeah.
one episode, but she was a captain.
Yep. You talking about from Enterprise?
That's
No,
next gen.
Rachel Garrett was in
Next gen.
TNG.
Yesterday's Enterprise.
But there was a female captain in Enterprise too. She took
Yes.
captain of the second NX class. So
The
he's
Columbia,
not.
yep.
Yeah, he's not breaking ground here. He's just a dork.
No, man.
Oh, he's breaking down and making
He's
terrible Star Trek.
purchasing.
all he's doing, man, is jumping on the fake diversity train. This dude is seriously, man. Alex Kurtzman, he's
He's a scab.
Fake. He's fake.
Not to mention Jadzia and Kira both captained the Defiant on several occasions. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this is not new. I'm not
Bro.
impressed.
Phil.
Also, technically speaking, Discovery only has one diverse star to it. All the other characters are technically very secondary. We barely know who any of them are.
Phil,
So it's only-
you know this dude is like fake as all get out, man.
He's a scab. He got his career by not joining the writers' union, or like by jumping off the writers' union to work on movies because Hollywood was desperate during the strike.
You mean
Like
the
that's why he
2007?
works.
Mark,
Him and Orky.
I will answer Mark's question in chat. Who is looking forward to Picard under Kurtzman? Not a damn single person.
I don't know anyone who is other than to trash it. I mean, even their Countdown comic book, I saw a couple of tweets about the Countdown comic book for Picard. It conflicts with the Countdown comic book for Star Trek 09, and they're apparently supposed to be in the same continuity. And now that's another continuity.
Yeah, it's
Right. Before it's the same. When you're talking about the same continuity, that's before with like Spock is trying to save Romulan.
Yeah,
right?
that thing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a mess.
I mean, Discovery is just such a mess anyway. It was just born. I mean, it was born out of plagiarism. Let's be real.
So-
one good thing about it is that it made me find you guys. So
That is a good thing.
Yeah.
So he confirms that it was an actual condition that he put on CBS. He says we made that very clear in a condition of our involvement, and Julie was immediately supportive of it. Julie is Julie McNamara, who is the executive vice president for CBS All Access. But this is what's really interesting, and so he's talking about the casting process, and they were in the middle of it when Donald Trump was elected. And he says, and one thing I remember very clearly was that we were still casting the morning Trump was elected, and somehow in the casting conversation, this question came up like, okay, do we have to reconsider this? And we doubled down and said, this is exactly why we have to do this right now.
Oh, bullcrap.
that's stupid.
That's what he
Show
said.
show me the transcript. I don't believe that. No.
That's what he
There's no
said, man.
transcript. Those casting. There's no notes taken during casting process like that.
The heck is going on, man?
Oh my god! Like, I mean, I can believe that conversation would happen because I've heard some terrible things said in casting rooms, but like,
Same.
it's just ridiculous. I mean, thankfully, it is actually a small sect of people in the Hollywood industry that think this way. A lot of others don't, but they don't usually say anything because there are the ones that do think this way are a bit higher on the food chain, so they can be egotistical and selfish about it, and then cast someone away pretty quickly. But I mean, there's a spectrum when it comes to allegory because every story does have a agenda. There's two types of this spectrum. There's dated, which means it's terrible, it's poor, it's never going to last. And then there's timeless, where it's more broad in topic. It's like good versus evil, oppression of like a totalitarian enemy empire over like a small farming community, or like, the average man. It's, coming to terms with a family member who's been on the wrong side of, who's wronged you and trying to do redemption. Those are the broad aspects of agenda that make stories successful, because they're able to be applied to any topical situation going on in society at any time throughout generations. That's what makes them work. The moment you start doing stuff that goes to, I guess, like, what's the common phrase, orange man bad or what have you, it just becomes like you have to do a history lesson to figure out why the heck they were doing it that way and why it doesn't resonate now, and just confuses people. But they had that even with Enterprise when they did the Xindi thing. People kind of, when they watch it now, are like, why did they do this? It's like, it's because of 9/11. It's like, oh, I didn't grasp that. Like, I know they didn't do it right.
I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, it's something that, it's a lot of conversations we have whenever I'm in the writer's room. It's like, okay, how do we make sure that this thing will work 20 years from now? Like, that's the whole premise. Like, they'll come up with an idea that's really specific to today. But it's like, okay, this is the story. This is the point I want to get across. How do I rework this so that 20 years from now, people are going to understand the exact point I'm trying to get? And then you just spend hours and hours, sometimes even days, just retooling it to make it the most broadest approach, most accessible approach possible, so that anyone coming into this for the first time knows what you're trying to get at. And then usually by the end of the time, we watch the Star Trek episode Drumhead, because that's a perfect example of it. And,
Drumhead. Yes.
And then we go back to the things like, okay, this is how Drumhead did this, and it's regarding to McCarthyism and that, and are we doing it the same way here? So yeah, it's a fun process. It's painstaking, but like, that's how you do it. But here you have Kurtzman saying, no, it's a inauguration day, we got to stick to this women thing only. And it's like, okay, if you're going to stick to that, you better put in the effort. Like, don't give us a Mary Sue, because no one's going to relate to her. No one's going to like her.
I think this is the biggest, this is the most interesting part of his entire quote here, though. And for me personally, I have a harder time writing men. That's the truth. I don't know why. It's always been the case.
Well, I guess if he looks in the mirror, he can figure that out, huh?
Kurtzman was a scab, right? What was he writing on?
I think he worked with J.J. Abrams, I think, on Lost and Alias and something. Like, J.J. Abrams got him in, and then
so third season of Lost?
Yeah.
Or second half of the second season when it got really bad. Okay.
But then Michael Bay brought him on board because him and Orky, the one thing they were really good at is like some dialogue banter, like the good back and forth stuff between the two of them. And they brought them in for Transformers to do some stuff, and I think Kevin Dunn was like the best guy that tested on his dialogue. And Kevin Dunn's a really good character actor. He can take garbage and make it look like gold.
Wikipedia says he was asked to rewrite Michael Bay's The Island.
Oh, I forgot about The Island. Everybody forgets about The Island, but
and then he worked on Transformers.
I remember The Island being very bright and shiny. I'm not sure why.
That was the DVD cover art.
Oh. I remember being blinded, and I don't remember. I don't know why. Okay.
I don't even recognize the movie. It's got Scarlett Johansson, Ewan McGregor, Sean Bean.
Whoa! Scarlett was really good looking. In that
it's basically like clones being harvested for organs. It was
that was basically what the remake of Island of Dr. Moreau.
A little bit Island Dr. Moreau, a little bit Soylent Green. Not really the best parts of either.
Yeah, it was lackluster.
That's why it flew under my radar, even though it was star-studded cast.
It completely bombed. 126 million to produce, and it only made 162 million total.
Yeah, that's why it was.
It lost everything, and it.
Wow.
I mean, those are just after the days of where movies like that were career killers.
And then he went. Oh, well, it didn't kill his career. He went on to do Transformers.
He wanted to do Transformers during the writer's strike.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing, right? Because he was always he was doing assistant work. At least that's the stories that I was told, because we always ask, like, how does this jerk get the work because not only does he treat people terribly, like especially fans and people of franchises, but he's kind of a jerk in person. This is from what I'm told. And everybody's like, yeah, he was friends with J.J. Abrams here. He helped him on these shows. He then got like Michael Bay involved, and now I'm just remembering, yeah, he got The Island, and he totally botched that up. And now I don't know how he managed to parlay into what he has now, but he's going to be like a Russ Myers, but in a really bad way. In like 20 years from now.
You can just tell SD, man, that dude is just, God, he's just one of them people. He's like that arrogant jerk.
Was he the one that made Transformers 2?
He did.
I think he
did both.
has writing credits on it, but I don't know if he did full writing on it.
Whoever wrote that needs to go away. Like forever.
No, there's this response that he did when people got really upset about Star Trek Into Darkness, and he talks about like, well, yeah, that's because I write movies, and one guy who commented on that did a whole YouTube video about it. He's like, yeah, you write movies, but you don't write films, and that's why you'll be forgotten.
Oh,
and it's like, it was a good burn.
Nice. Well, all right, guys.
well, that's Hollywood. You can fail, but you can fail upward.
Yep, you can fail in any direction, up, down, laterally. I'm looking for the lateral right now because I'll still be employed, and then one day I'm going to go upward.
Well, start getting this YouTube going.
Yeah, you're.
I'm doing this just to keep myself out of a bubble, and also sort of make sure I can still articulate all the knowledge I have. Because sometimes you're just in a room and you just drop a phrase and you just know what it is, but you can't dissect it anymore. And then sometimes you just feel like you're getting stupider. So that's what this is helpful for.
That's me daily.
But like YouTube's not going to count. Like I could have like 1 billion subscribers on YouTube, and Hollywood's like, oh yeah, but it's YouTube. And you're like, it's an audience. Like I can put up a trailer there for free. Yeah.
So much
but they won't care.
They're trying to nuke it.
It's a big enough audience that J.J. Abrams is talking about them.
Yeah, that's
in interviews.
That is designed really to get more free advertising, because if you look at all their TV spots and everything, it's the laziest stuff you'd ever seen, and it's done on all sites that Disney owns and doesn't have to pay for to do.
I haven't watched any of the TV spots, I'll be honest.
I haven't. I've only seen the ones that are on the like the Disney owned websites like the CBR and C.net and all that stuff that's just been coming across.
Wait, Disney owns CBR?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
I know CBR was bought. I know CBR was bought by a larger entity, but I didn't think it was.
Oh wait,
Disney.
I might be confusing with CBS. Sorry.
Comicbook.com.
Comic
Book Resources bought by Disney. Oh.
No, well, CBS has a lot of affiliates that own a lot of our media. So
Wikipedia says that CBR is owned by Valnet Inc.
Oh, Valnet. There it is.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, yeah, they're not related to Disney.
And who owns Valnet?
CBS.
Don't know.
I think AT&T might. I think AT&T might, but I might be wrong there. It's really hard to keep track because every once in a while you get a text like, "Hey, this company bought this company." You're like, "Oh, okay." Wait, what? And then you got to read more. I'm like, oh.
They don't have a Wikipedia page, which is interesting.
Yeah, I just checked myself. There is no Wikipedia for them. They're controlling the narrative, man. They don't want you to know who owns them.
Bloomberg has them. They describe them as they operate as an investment company.
Meaning they're not making him any money.
Acquires, develops, and operates internet-based businesses. Valnet serves customers in Canada.
That sounds like a shell company.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
What do? We do stuff.
Well, they had that.
I'm in finance. Oh, you're a mob enforcer?
They had that hot take like after Mandalorian Chapter 4 saying like people were like hating on it or something like that, and apparently they used like a parody account as like their main source. I don't know.
People were hating on the Mandalorian. I saw an article today saying that the toxic fandom, so-called, has really nothing to say about the Mandalorian.
I mean, they obviously aren't listening to our live streams.
No,
Yeah,
they're
but-
not.
But for the most part, we're arguing about finer points of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
We're arguing
But
about
we're not-
narrative, like story choices and time constraint. This seems to be.
yeah, we're not talking about like they're ruining the franchise.
They're
Just
not wasting a third of them of the show on some backwater planet, and the characters come back and it means nothing to the entire story. You know, that's not what's happening. Like PBR they keep reposting this article saying that it doesn't make sense for us that we love Baby Yoda but don't like Rey. I was like, they're not even close in comparison.
Well, I mean, they put up that ridiculousness about Cara Dune. It's like, are you serious, man?
What's ridiculous about Cara Dune? She took 3 punches to the face.
And I freaking commented on Twitter to one of them, man. I it's funny. I got a lot of actual likes on it because I basically tagged CBR. I was like, yeah, I see you guys have journalistic integrity that
I
rides.
read that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, my God, they're as bad as Kotaku, if not worse. They probably are worse. And that's saying something.
Like, seriously, Rey lifts half a mountain and then goes and then jumps and pilots the Millennium Falcon. Yoda picks up an animal and passes out for half a day. Half a day. It's ridiculous, man. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
one
not-
did
it's nowhere
one.
close.
Yeah, Ray did it without any effort, and the Baby Yoda nearly just passed out.
2 episodes almost. It's just passed out.
Yeah, see, and for
Plus, he drinks tea like a boss.
That's hilarious.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Slurping and everything. That's walking up next to him.
That was a brilliant
Amy,
little
you're not leaving
take
me.
right there.
Okay.
Was that Bryce Dallas Howard's direction? Just
Yeah,
Mhm.
put that one in there.
she admitted that
that's,
she got that from nepotism. She admits that in an interview.
Yeah, and you know what? She did a safely directed episode. It was very out of a template, which is good practice for her. I mean,
Right.
I would prefer her to try something a bit more outside of the nepotism aspect because she can earn it. Like she's been around long enough. She could have earned an actual directing gig without her dad's help. But she played it safe, which is a smart move when you're learning. And,
yeah, I mean, it was a good outing.
I just think they should have spaced it a little further away from the best episode we've seen thus far. That being 3.
Yeah.
It was It was weird to come after that episode. It's just weird and change in pace. Like even Mando, he felt different in the 3rd episode than he did in the 4th episode. In my opinion,
he felt tired.
Who directed 3?
Deborah Chow,
Deborah Chow.
Yeah,
the goddess.
who's doing Obi-Wan. She's doing the Obi-Wan series.
yeah.
Which is a good
oh,
freaking
that's-
start for her.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I think that Bryce did a good job though. I mean, it was one of those things. It's like Script Doctor said. It was just a good safe outing, and she might get better.
Oh, I think with practice, you usually get better the more you do something, right?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Also,
Kurtzman.
an actor has an advantage over other directors that are just directors right out of the gate because they know the process on their end more intimately. I mean, that's what made Richard Donner so great in the 70s and 80s. Like he used to be an actor first, and he wasn't a great actor, but he knew the process. He knew what was needed to be done and what an actor needed to hear. And when he did The Omen, really knocked it out of the park. And then Superman, then Lethal Weapon, and Timeline was the only one where he couldn't get across to that cast because they're a completely different process and generation, and felt sorry for him. But
Hey John, can we get some T-shirts with the Bounding into Comics logo that says hashtag We're Not CBR?
I've been asking
I don't know about that.
months for merch.
I think so I'm gonna give a response that Chuck Dixon said, don't want to make a career out of hate, out of responding to them, because he was talking about Tom King's latest hot take on Batman.
Oh
and
god.
wanting everyone to be a creator on Batman.
They're not creators, they're stewards.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Like I'm still ticked
exactly
off
what
that
they
it
are.
says with Bill Finger, not and Bill Finger.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed. I mean, if you, I was reading some of the what was it called the I'm blanking on it right now, but it's a comic book history book by Captain America artist.
Jack Kirby?
No, after he was
artist?
after Kirby. I don't know. I got an article. I wrote the article on it. I just am blanking on what it was. But in the book, he's got a conversation with Bill Finger about how they actually like came about creating Batman, and he was the one who basically redesigned him, and then also like gave him what like kind of shaped his personality, and what his personality would be, and how he would like interact, and kind of talked about how he was like a combination of like a lot of these like pulp.
Like the
older
Shadow
pulp
and Doc
characters, like the
Savage.
Shadow. Yeah, and he talks about that with I'm gonna get it here. I just pulled it up. The Jim Steranko.
Oh, okay.
Steranko History of Comics is where that's all documented in.
Yeah, because Bob Kane's approach to Batman was just Da Vinci's blueprint of the Bat, and that the parents were murdered in front of him, and he just wanted like revenge. And then Finger's like, well, you got to go further because it's just a guy in a red suit with black underpants and a domino mask, like more anthropomorphic, more detective-y, more. What was the other word he used?
Let me see here.
But like Finger shaped that, like made it what it was. Like Finger also did Green Lantern. I think he did a little bit with the Flash too, I think, but I may be wrong. Maybe I'm mixing him up with someone else. Because Bill Finger did a lot.
Finger says he said, I was very much influenced by the Shadow and Doc Savage, the Phantom, things of that sort when it came to Batman. He had wings originally, and he changed him so he would be more of he would have the cape so it would like flow out behind him, and it could look like bat wings. And then he also added gloves, and then he said that his idea was to have Batman be a combination of Douglas Fairbanks, Sherlock Holmes, the Shadow, and Doc Savage. So that's kind of who Batman. That was his vision for Batman, and I think that's
kind of what translated on the page. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he is, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the Shadow is some of the chat here. Michael Connor is saying Razorfist says that Batman is a rip of the Shadow. The Shadow is a very different character. I read like there's some really good Shadow stuff by he writes he writes Grendel. I'm totally blanking right now.
Yeah, I haven't found many of the original pulp novels for the Shadow, and I've been trying to get my hands on them for a while. But I did get the Orson Welles audio recordings of the Shadow, which were great.
And you can listen to a lot of that stuff on YouTube too. They have that. They have a lot of the radio recordings here on YouTube. But yeah, the Shadow he uses 245s, and he lights people up all the time, which is not what Batman does.
Yeah. And also, I don't even think Lamont Cranston's his real name. Like, I think he stole that identity.
That's a little confusing. It depends on who's writing him. He goes by like 3 different names, but like Lamont Cranston is like the
wealthy one.
Yeah, that's the most prominent one and the wealthy one.
Oh my gosh, it's Moon Knight.
Nobody's seen Moon Knight comparisons.
Oh,
Moon Knight comparison right there. 3 personalities. One's the rich one is the cabbie, and the other is the mercenary.
The Shadow also has he has some kind of like psychic powers which he uses, and I don't know, they're not really like psychic. It's more like mental
powers.
Yeah, he's like mental powers where he channels his mental strength through this ring that he received. and he uses it to manipulate his enemies. And it's
And
either
you can also
to,
see
like,
their thoughts when they're focused. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, he actually like can create fear within them, like instead of like whereas like obviously Batman dresses up as a bat to instill fear, like the Shadow can actually do it through his like mental powers.
Yeah.
There's some differences. Obviously, you can see how there's like an influence, but I mean, they're definitely two different characters.
Yeah,
I'm a
and I
huge
can
fan
see
of the Shadow.
and I can see with the Phantom, the whole
character.
lifelong training to be like peak human. That's a Phantom trait.
Sherlock Holmes, obviously the detective
Detective
work.
stuff, and also thank God they didn't take the cocaine aspect with that too. That would have been messed up.
Cocaine.
I mean, Chuck Dixon and Graham kind of added that into. They made that a villain trait with the Venom, right?
Yep, that Venom storyline was great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then like the motivation for it behind it, that was so cool. Like my first comic was like number 3 or 4 of Nightfall as a kid because like my parents wouldn't let me have comics, but I had to get like my tonsils out. So my dad got me a Batman comic because I loved the Adam West show. And it was like, this is so much different than the Adam West show. It's dark and gritty, and Robin's not called Dick. What's going on here? And then that just opened up the floodgates. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had Chuck on, like, I think when we first started doing this, and he actually was talking to us about, like, when he was writing Nightfall, that was around the same time they were doing the animated series, and he said he was, like, in contact with the folks there, like, all the time, and I think that definitely shows that he had one of the greatest Batman writers of all time, like, working with maybe the best medium or best media we've seen of Batman outside of the comics. Yeah, Mark saying back in the late 19th century, cocaine was legal. In fact, if you look at the history of the United States, it was actually
lots of drugs are legal.
Yeah, it was also prescribed to cure people.
Wasn't it also in Coke?
I think that's a rumor. I'm not really sure if that's true or not.
Well, until someone breaks into that vault to get the recipe, we'll never know.
Yeah.
So it might still be part of Coke.
Maybe. It's definitely not part of New Coke, that's for sure.
No, I get tired.
I haven't drank like a traditional soda in years, just by happenstance, actually.
Yeah, I don't drink soda
Dr.
either.
Pepper is delicious.
No, I've had Dr. Pepper.
Oh.
I just haven't drank any of them since 2009, maybe. Yeah, 10 years. Oh my God.
I usually just use it for the caffeine if I'm like driving through the night or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't do the caffeine reliance anymore. I can never have a taste for coffee, and I used to do pops and sodas all the time. But as I got older, I was like, no, I'm relying on this too much. I'm just gonna do it from willpower, and it's been working out so far, except for when I watch The Flash. So yeah.
Just wake up
just puts you
24
right to
hours
sleep.
later.
13 hours later, actually, I did the math.
It's a good sleep. Goodness.
Except it was on a couch. My back's been sore all day. I'm standing up as I'm doing this, guys.
All right. Well, we're closing in on midnight here. It's getting quite late here on the East Coast.
Oh yeah.
I know it's 9:00 over there for you, Don.
Yeah. Pretty early.
Yeah. But thank you all for joining us. We do this every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We talk about kind of the latest topics of what's been happening in the news when it comes to comic books, pop culture, movies, television, sci-fi, you name it. We're talking about it. And we also do a Mandalorian review every Fridays at 9 p.m. as well. We will probably be doing it on Wednesday, December 18th as well, because that's when Chapter 7 will be coming out.
Yeah, but when's Chapter 5 drop?
So Chapter 5 is this Friday. So we'll probably do like a combo Mandalorian review / Bounding Live on that Wednesday.
That's the
December
stupidest
18th.
Wednesday ever.
So, yeah, well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Michael Connor, Stephen Ernest. Anyone who is watching this on playback tomorrow, thank you.
Mega Jetty, thanks
in.
for coming by.
Yeah, Mega Jetty.
Orville Nation.
Yeah, Orville Nation. Yeah, thank you all for for stopping by and
Thank you
chatting
guys
with us.
for all
And,
the super chats.
yeah, we appreciate it. So y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Later.